Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I am joined as ever by Mr. Matthew Turner. And Matt Turner, we inch closer to the Christmas period and a huge wrestling week. And now, which we're going to be talking about very, very shortly, we have some idea as to what the first Dream card will be on the 3rd of January.
Yeah, things are definitely shaping up for the end of the year, my friend, and the beginning of next year, technically. So a lot of great stuff on deck for us over here at the Marigold Standard, Talk Joshi, the Stardom Cast. Even we're getting some War Game stuff, as I guess Monday Night Raw, as I saw, was a smorgasbord of just wrestlers returning. So no Repo Man, no Mountie, but that's okay, Rob. When you can't have it all, you
Can't do it
can't.
all on one show, bro. I mean,
No.
people's heads will explode.
Yeah, you're right. Good thinking, buddy. Good thinking. But yeah, man, everything's looking. Obviously, we're going to talk about the. Yeah, right there. What are you drinking?
Apparently, dishwater. I washed my
Congratulations.
mug earlier because, and this is very gross. I don't wash my mug very often because it's my work mug. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to like go in, like, you know, we're gonna have to cordon this bad boy off, and you know, otherwise it's gonna start breeding cultures. So washed it, left it with some hot water and dish dish soap in there, and apparently it has left a lingering taste. I will still be drinking it periodically because waste not, want not, but it does taste absolutely dreadful. So anyway, do continue, Matt. Apologies.
At least it'll clean your insides out, buddy. At least your insides will show.
If it cleans dishes, it'll clean me.
There you go, buddy. There you go. But what was I saying? Oh no, the cards are looking really good. Again, obviously we have two matches that we'll get into it that are now official for First Dream coming up on the 3rd of January. Yep. Tokyo Dome card is shaping up as well. So yeah, a lot of interesting things going on. But what's going on with you, buddy? What's with the hat today? Usually we get the fancy hairdo. Did you go for a run and do some push-ups? Did you do the Carl Gotch Bible, Rob? Is that what you did? Did you do the Carl Gotch Bible? You're all sweaty.
You will know when I've done the Carl Gotch Bible simply because I won't be alive anymore. I will be a former Rob. No, quite honestly, I just had a shower and couldn't be bothered to do my hair. So it was because then I'd have to have another shower before work, and it's in a word match, pure laziness. So the hat is on to cover my ridiculously floofy hair because this is going to sound ridiculous now. You know the Flintstones, right?
Of course.
Yeah, you know Barney Rubble?
Mm-hmm.
The spitting image of him when I dot off product in my hair.
All the more reason to do it. Again, I'm looking at the positive. All the more reason to take the hat off, buddy.
Absolutely not. People will unsubscribe, and rightly so.
No, man, I don't know. But man, brother, I really didn't talk. I was busy this week. Obviously, you know where I was up this weekend. We'll get into a moment. How was your weekend, buddy?
Yeah, a relatively relaxed one. We are in the middle of one hell of a storm, so not done a great deal. It's been, like I say, quite a chilled out, slow burn of a weekend, which has been nice. So obviously you've had a massive weekend this weekend, and we're going to be talking about that in a moment. But obviously, before we do all of that, I know that Matt, you wanted to speak very, very quickly on the sad passing of Bob Caudle, who passed away age 95 over the last couple of days, peacefully at home, but obviously, you know, a huge loss to the wrestling industry.
Yeah, Bob Caudle was a big fixture in the Mid-Atlantic region, and I really didn't start watching. I only watched a little bit of the Mid-Atlantic stuff when I was a kid. I mostly got into it like in my late teens, early 20s, going back and watching the tapes from stuff from the 80s. Obviously, the Flair, Steamboat matches, Dusty, the Road Warriors, Midnight Express. I go on and on and on. And Bob Caudle was always like the voice. Like you can just tell, like when even if you weren't, if you had the TV on and you weren't watching it, you can just tell that's Bob Caudle's voice. He's that very distinct voice. And I'm a big fan of Jim Ross's podcast for a lot of reasons. I mean, I always tell young wrestlers, just listen to Jim Ross's podcast and you will automatically learn, because Jim Ross is one of the smartest guys ever in the business. And he always credited Bob Caudle for really helping him, you know, back in the 80s. Always giving a lot of credit to Bob Caudle. And considering the fact that Bob Caudle really didn't do much in wrestling since like the 90s, I know he did do the overview for the Ric Flair's final match a few years ago. And that was the last thing he did in wrestling, which would have put him, I think, at like 92 when he did that, which was fantastic. But considering he's been mostly out of the pro wrestling business over the last 25, 30 years or so, and so many outpouring messages of love have come in after his passing, really just goes to show you what a mark he made on the business. And you're absolutely right, partner. 95. I mean, what a run.
What an innings.
95, passed away in his sleep. Again, the fact that he's pretty much been mostly out of the wrestling business for close to 3 decades, and there was so much outpouring love and appreciation for Bob Caudle goes to show you that even though he is gone, physically, spiritually, he will live on forever, because people are going to be talking about how much he added to the Mid-Atlantic product back there in the 70s and 80s. So, Mr. Bob Caudle, as you always say, so long for now, good sir. Thank you so much for your service in the pro wrestling business, and we know that you'll be calling matches up in the great sky in the ring.
Absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers are with, obviously, his family and his close friends. I didn't actually realize that a really nice touch to Ric Flair's last match. They had pre-recorded segments from Bob Caudle, and obviously the entire show was then signed off with So Long For Now. So, yeah, I thought that was a really nice touch, and we're keeping his family and friends in our prayers. Obviously, Bob Caudle passing away, age 95. Matt, moving on from that, let's talk about your weekend, because your weekend, my friend, was spent in New York meeting a plethora, a smorgasbord, if you will, of wrestling talent.
Yeah, so myself and one Andy Header, the great one, fantastic Andy Header. We went to the big event in New York, and we went in March. It was only about a 2-hour drive, give or take, with the traffic. So we loved it. It was great in March. We said, hey, if they ever do it again and they bring in some names, we're going to go. So sure enough, this is what we did. So now, Rob, they advertise this as Sting's last East Coast appearance with the face paint. Said he's still going to be doing the meet and greets and the autograph sessions because he absolutely loves meeting the fans. Just the face paint gets to be a little bit too much, which I understand. The guy's in his 60s. So I told Andy, I said, this is going to be must. Like, we got to get our picture taken with Sting in the face paint, because this is literally going to be our last opportunity. So I prepaid for the photo. So this way we're good to go. In case this way, if it's sold out, we have our photo, we're good to go. So we get to the big event, and we're waiting in Sting's line for probably about a good 25, 30 minutes. And Rob, the line's not moving. I'm like, this is really weird. Now, it went from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we had a couple other things we wanted. We wanted to meet the Great Muta, Mina Shirakawa, Tekla, Medusa, also known as Alundra Blaze. There was a whole bunch of people we wanted to meet, but like, let's get this thing done. And then this way we'll have the rest of the whatever time's left to do what we need to do. So again, 25, 30 minutes goes by, and we're like, line's not moving. I was like, and I said, Andy Header, you hold my spot in line. I'm gonna do a little investigation. So I go to the front of the line, and the first thing everyone was thinking is maybe Sting's late. And everybody's like, no, that's not like Sting. Like, he's always very timely when it comes to these things. Sting's there, he's signing, but he's signing so much stuff that the line's not moving. Now, what I found out really quickly, Rob, is that if you paid like an extra $50 a ticket, you get a VIP fast pass that basically says, hey, I have this golden ticket like Willy Wonka. I go to the front of the line. Not only were all the VIPs getting their stuff signed, but they were getting totes and totes of stuff signed. Now, you cannot be mad at these people, because I know once I realized what was happening, went back to the line, told Header, everybody else around was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, can't be mad at them. One, they paid the extra money to be in front of the line. Two, they charge per signature. It's not
wow.
yes. Now, when myself and Andy, we go to New York Comic Con, there are some writers and some inkers and artists that they don't sign for autographs. It's just basically like DC Comics or Marvel Comics or Image Comics will be like, right, we're going to pay you a flat fee. You're going to sign 12 to 3 every day. I don't care if you sign 1 signature or a million signatures. This is your flat fee, and that's that. And there are a lot of people that take advantage that'll have 30, 40 books get signed. And you're like, come on, you're taking advantage of this situation because they're signing for free. Sting's signing, he's charging per signature. So like, you can't get mad. There were people in front of the line that dropped easily $2,000 just to easily because it was just toe after toe. And maybe they own wrestling stores, maybe they own an eBay store. I don't know. Hey, but they paid per signature. So after a little over 2 hours of waiting in line, we got to meet the Stinger, shook his hand, thanked him, for everything he's done for the business. We got our 2 sweet picture, which I sent you, Rob.
You did.
off to now the Great Muda was right next to him. So we had the idea like, oh, as soon as Sting's done, we'll just go get in Muda's line. Unfortunately, Muda, he had like pro photo ops that you do basically like how we did with EO and Julie and Kyrie, where they had the big backdrop. So he had pro photo ops that if you pay like an extra $50, you get that fancy backdrop. By the time we got done with Sting, Muda's photo just started. So I'm like, we'll circle back. So then we get to Tekla. Now, Rob, I'm going to tell you right now, and our listeners right now, this is one of my favorite meet and greets ever. Not just wrestling,
dude. Come on.
Not this is one of my favorite I'm going to swear. I'm just going to let everybody know because I got to tell you what Tekla said. So, because she was a little bit in character. So this was this was one of my favorite meet and greets ever. So and again, folks, I'm going to put it out there. I'm using Tekla's words in some of this, not mine. So I am going to swear, but the words aren't that bad, Rob. So you don't need to use a disclaimer. You don't need to use a disclaimer or bleep it out. So we go to meet Tekla, and we asked her, "How are you doing after that blood and guts match?" And she basically showed us, like the whip wounds and basically everything. She was standing, smiling, laughing, like, yeah, time of her life, right? So, we were talking about all the great spots that they did, how they kind of overshadowed the men. And then she said, yeah, basically we kind of put our match together and the men were kind of putting their match together because there were certain things that the men wanted to do that we couldn't do. Because since we're going on first, what if we did everything and they have nothing left? I say it all the time. Like, why did these when hate was first a thing, 4 out of 5 matches and hate matches, they all went to the crowd. I'm like, it's a little bit too much. So I like that. So I was like, yeah, I kind of figured halfway through that no one was going to jump off the cage. Like, no, because we knew the men were going to do it. And then, Rob, I'm going to tell you something that's not going to shock you. She said Sky Blue wanted to get set on fire. And they're like, no, because that's Darby. She just said she wanted to use fire or get set on fire. But they were like, no. And then I guess Darby Allin was like, dibs.
Yeah. We can't have anything with sharks. Darby Allin's going to get eaten by a shark and then fired out of a cannon, guys. So no.
So I had 2 things for Tekla to sign. I had my 2024 5-star Grand Prix program, which had all the participants.
Yeah.
And then our good buddy, the guy who does your book, Matt Charlton, whenever I ask him for to do commissions, or if I see something he posts that I want, I'll be like, hey, Matt, how much is that? I'll send him the money. And then he always sends me more than what I've asked for. He's such a great guy. So I was kind of going through some stuff. I was cleaning up my some of my comics, and I found an extra thing that he drew for me. It was when Tekla and Momo Watanabe were building up their goddess match against Wing Gori last year for Dream Queendom, where Hanan and Saida were all spray painted in the face and Tekla was choking them. And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I'm like, this is perfect. I'll have Tekla sign this. So obviously after she tells us that Sky Blue wanted to set herself on fire, but that was no go. So I give her the program to sign, and she opens it up and she's flipping through it. And as she's flipping through it, I said, Tekla, is there anybody in Stardom that you never worked with before in a singles match that you wanted to? And she goes, and she gets right to Soriano's page. She goes, Soriano. I wanted to work with Soriano because I think that we were about to have a program. Thinking in my head, what was Tekla doing before she got fired? She was doing the idol killer thing. So why wouldn't Soriano be like the big sister and be like, leave Aya and Sayaka alone? So that could have been a really good program. And then she pointed to Sherry. She goes, I never had a singles match with Sherry. I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, you were in there for 3 years. And Sherry and Tekla never had a singles match. So she pointed out Sherry and Soriano, she never had. And I think her and Soriano, they were kind of saying something that they may have had a program. I then did ask her, since AEW does have a working relationship with DC Comics, any possibility of her drawing or inking, because she's an artist, any of that? And she said no. She's like, I never even thought about that, but I was coming up with an idol killer comic book that was going to be published in Japan. Obviously, myself and especially Andy knows a lot about the inner workings of comics. She's like, I was just so busy, I just couldn't get to it. Like, it's too much. It was just too much work. But she's like, never say never. Now that we have this working relationship with DC, who knows? Maybe I'll do something there. Maybe I'll get some advice. I'll pick the brains from people from DC Comics. So maybe, Rob, in a year or two, we may see Tekla working on a comic book, which I think would be great.
That will be good.
Now, Rob, then so she signs the program, and then I go, I can guarantee you nobody's giving you this. This is a 1-on-1. So I slide her the picture that our buddy Matt Charlton did of Tekla beating up Saida and Hanan, and she goes, and again, pardon for my language, I'm not done with these bitches just yet. And I was like, oh. I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Are you gonna be pulling a Megan Bayne?" And she was like, "I might be pulling a Megan Bayne." So again, obviously she had to be a little kayfabe, maybe because of the working relationship with AEW and Stardom. Never say never, Rob. Maybe we see Tekla back in a Stardom ring doing a one-off or doing something maybe to help Hate out. But all I know is if you're Wing Gore, you better watch out because she ain't done with you yet. She's not done with you yet. I did make mention about how great that's my all-time favorite Tekla match. Or at least her performance. Maybe the Blood and Guts might be my favorite match that has Tekla in it. But I said, you and Momo versus Wing Gore to open up Dream Queen. She's like, yeah, they told us the day before, hey, this match is opening. I'm like, okay. Like, I hope everybody else is ready to follow this because they just set the bar really, really high. Really, really a great, great match. And the story that they had building up with not only Wing Gore winning the tag league, but everything between tag league and Dream Queendom, I thought was set up really, really well. So then I did ask her, I said, hey, at the conversion last year, you cut a promo after Saya Kamatani lost and basically Queen's Quest was pretty much dissolved. You told Saya Kamatani, you're all by yourself. What you gonna do? And she looked at me and she goes, you really know your shit, don't you? I was like, I do a podcast on Stardom. So I was like, my question to you is technically that's what sent Saya Kamatani overboard to snap and be this Phoenix Queen character. Do you think that you should be getting some Saya Kamatani royalties for that? She's
Absolutely.
like, I didn't think about that. But so that was great. That was our meet and greet with Tekla. Took a bunch of pictures. She was absolutely fantastic. We went over to Maki Ito, which I thought Maki Ito was great, where Andy Header says, I watch all your stuff in TJPW. And she goes, that's good because I just quit. Which I thought was fantastic. She's like, oh, I quit TJP. I'm like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know.
Right next to her was Shayna Baszler. And we asked, hey, what's the possibility of you and Shuri in a Bloodsport style match? And she's like, I love that. I'm all for that. I want that. Just keep tweeting at Josh, and maybe he'll eventually book it. And then I asked, any idea if you'd want, or would you like to go back to Stardom? She's like, 100%. I want to go back to Stardom. I don't know if I want to do a full tour or a handful of shows, but she's like, obviously I haven't been there in quite some time. The group of girls they have now are better back then, and back then they were fantastic. She absolutely love to go to Stardom. So maybe we see the Queen of Spades back in Stardom sometime soon. Again, that's Shayna versus Shuri match. That is a match I think that everybody wants. Then we get to Medusa, one of Lunder Blaze, who Medusa is really good friends with, friend of the show, frequent visitor of the show, one Allison Danger.
Who isn't at this point? Who isn't good friends with Allison Danger?
You got that right. So we walked up to her and I said, hey, I got a message from a mutual friend of ours. Allison Danger told me to tell you hello. She stands up. She comes up from her side of the table and she goes, can you give this to Allison for me? And gives me a hug. Yes. So
she's a sweetheart then.
Oh, Allison even told me she's an absolute sweetheart. So she gives me a hug and then she's like, how do you know Allison? So I go through, I basically give her the Reader's Digest. We're in Ring of Honor together. I said, she comes on my podcast quite a bit. I said, here's what my podcast is about. We talk about Joshi Pro Wrestling. We would love to have you on the show. I said, Allison's on all the time. She goes, if Allison's on, then I need to get on. I said, okay. I said, what's the best way to contact you? She gave me her contact information. Every question that me and Andy asked, she would only give me a little bit. She's like, save it for the podcast. Save it for the podcast. She's like, I want to help you guys out. We're going to save it for the podcast. I did ask her because she had the ticket. It's in the picture that we posted. She has the ticket from the Big Egg Dome, which is the only all women show. She's like, somebody gave it to her a couple months ago at a signing show. She keeps it and she takes it with her to the signings. So basically,
yeah, because I saw that was what she was holding, obviously the infamous WWF Women's Championship in one hand. And I assumed that was the certificate of authenticity for the belt. I didn't realize that was. That's cool.
That was
nice memorabilia.
That was a ticket. And I did ask her. I said, obviously you were on that show towards the end. That was like an 8-hour show. What was that like? And she starts talking. She goes, we're saving it for the podcast. We're saving it for the podcast. I did say about how we're going over to Japan. She said, make sure, get a comfy seat. It's a long flight. She goes, you guys will have a really, really great time. So she was an absolute sweetheart. And again, I'm working, trying to get her on the show. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that does happen. We met the Jumping Bomb Angels, which is really, really nice. Obviously, cool. Myself and Andy don't speak. Andy's actually pretty good with Japanese, which I'll get into in a moment. But so he said a few things. We took a quick photo. That was really nice. Actually, we met them before Medusa because they were right by each other. And she goes, "Did I just see you guys with the Jumping Bomb Angels?" I said, "Yeah." They came over and they gave me a shirt. She goes, you ladies used to kick my ass every time I was in Japan. Now you're giving me a shirt." I said, "Well, maybe time heals all wounds." So I thought that was funny. And then we get back in line for Muda. And then as we get to the front of the line, myself and Indy both got a Great Muda action figure signed, the new WWE Elite Mudas that just came out not that long ago. And then he asked her what color, and then Andy said green in Japanese. And she's like, "Oh," so they kind of had a mini conversation in Japanese. And then we took the photo, and I believe that was that basically rounded up our trip at the big event in New York. Great time. Mina Shirakawa was supposed to be there, but she wasn't. We did find out she was cutting a promo with her and Tony Storm. So obviously we didn't get to meet her, but really, really good time. Bumped into the marvelous own one Peter Melnick, who we only used to see once a year, but now we're seeing quite a bit. So it was a really good time. We bumping into some old friends, bumping into a few people that they knew us from the show, which I thought was terrific. Oh, speaking of which, I completely forgot. As we left Tekla's line, I watched Nyla Rose mark out for Andy Header.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah, that's cool because Andy is an absolute delight.
We were leaving, and I forgot it was right around the time either before she got signed or when she got signed that Andy was on a whole bunch of shows with her. So we were walking by, like not that far away from where Tekla was, and they spotted each other and they big hug and how's everything, and how I'm like, this is really, really cool. So
that's cool.
They chatted it up. So that was really, really nice. She's an absolute sweetheart as well. But I highly recommend if anybody's ever in the area, it's definitely well worth the trip. Definitely well worth your money. They do a great job at the big event. So definitely 2 thumbs up, my friend. Where's the other one? There it is right there for the big event. Yes. Good times.
I to be honest, I think it's absolutely disgusting that Megan Bain wasn't here. I feel like it's not like she's doing anything right now. Like, if anything, she's slacking. Are you telling me that she couldn't go from Japan to Blood and Guts, back to Japan, be in the first match of the Hokkaido show on the 15th, and get back in time to do this signing? I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable.
Like a 3-hour signing. Yeah, just hop on a plane, 3-hour signing, and then head back.
Exactly. It's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Unbelievable. Terrible, buddy. Absolutely terrible. Goldberg was there. Goldberg seemed like he was having the time of his life. He stood in front of his table the whole entire time, did not sit down. He looked like he was in the time of his life. The Big Show was right next to him. AJ Lee was there.
Big Show there.
Big Show was cool. There. And then AJ Lee, who she was there back in March, but now she signed. And they were like, after she signed, she's like, "No, I'm still doing all my, prepaid all my appearances." Her line was just literally
enormous. I was going to ask,
the whole entire time. Yeah, her and we think AJ had the longest line, but Sting probably signed the most stuff because there's way more Sting stuff. I mean, there's been Sting memorabilia coming out since the 80s. So then again, I saw so many people with totes of stuff. I'm like, that's about $2,000. That's about $3,000. But again, really, really great time. Again, Tekla, not to kill the gimmick, literally such an absolute sweetheart. So fun to talk to. It was a really great chat with her.
Yeah, I'm glad that you had a good time, my friend. It sounded like it was awesome. It made me laugh that Andy immediately managed to put his foot in it with Maki Ito. And it was really nice. Like I always get like a bit like, when like people recognize you and like, oh, I work shows with you, and you get to have not necessarily your flowers, but you get to have that moment. I always feel like really happy for you, and it's nice when it happens for Andy as well. Obviously, I don't know Andy as well as I know you, but Andy's still an absolute sweetheart, so I'm glad he got that moment because that was really sweet as well. Speaking of Marigold, then, as we are doing the Marigold stand, we've got 3 shows to review. We're going to be looking at the show from the 13th in Shinjuku Face with an absolutely fantastic main event between Victoria Yuzuki and Rea Seto. We're going to be talking about the show from the 15th, which is from the 176 box in Osaka, something of Marigold's second home at the moment. And then obviously the Korakuen Hall show that they ran on the 17th, which top to bottom, Matt, was a really, really good card. And when you consider there was no white belt match, there was no red belt match, honestly, everything stuck the landing. And then you go from Mai Sakurai and now Ishikawa, which bloody hell, all the way up, like everything was fantastic. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. And obviously the attendance wasn't perhaps the attendance that they would have wanted. But in terms of a showcase, I thought everything, even the Megaton match, much as we absolutely adore Megaton, and she is, the sort of the icon of this podcast. Even that match was really, really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that show, bro.
Yeah, it was a really, really great. All three of these shows were fantastic. They were
actually.
yeah. I mean, again, it's Marigold, so you're going to get great wrestling. Don't get me wrong, but like they kind of exceeded our already high expectations when we watched these shows. And you're absolutely right, buddy. On the Korakuen Hall, no red belt, no white belt, but they replaced that with attempted murder in that Mai Sakurai and now Ishikawa match, and then almost a double attempted murder with Miko Ano versus Chika Goto. So,
3 seconds into the match, and Miko Ano is kicking Chika Goto in the face. I was like, oh my God.
I thought I missed something. I was doing something, and I think I got a text message. It might have been for you or Andy or Amber, because they're the only 3 people that check in on me. That's all that I need. And then I'm like, did I hit the fast forward button? Why is this look like the finish?
Well, I did that because Chika Goto is like giving it the big one. Obviously, saying to the crowd, make some noise for me. Let's try and get this to be a title match. Goes to Rossi Ogawa. Rossi Ogawa was having none of it. That proper made me laugh. Like, absolutely not. No. Didn't even build it. He was just like, no, absolutely not. And then the bell rang and Chika Goto ran. And again, similar to you, I think I was messing about with Fred at this point. And so I looked up and Chika Goto had rolled to the floor. I was like, how badly did that run go? And then obviously I had to rewind. I was like, oh, that's because Miko Ano legit tried to kill her. Right. Okay. Obviously, we're going to be talking about those 3 shows. But first of all, we're going to talk about some of the things coming out of that show, because some huge news coming out of that show. We're also going to talk about Mirai, because she has been announced for a match on the 2nd of January from someone who was on these shows. So again, that Wrestle Kingdom week is going to be a very spicy time for Mirai. And we're also going to talk about some of the dates announced for the New Year Golden Garden Tour coming up in January. But of course, first things first, Matt, our red belt match is confirmed for First Dream at Ota Ward City Gym on the 3rd of January. Your main event will be Miko Ano defending the Marigold World Championship against Mai Sakurai. We did think this was going to happen. We sort of called this, but it makes the most sense. Of course it does. Obviously, this is a mirror of the last show that they did on, the last First Dream show, where, of course, it was these 2 for the white belt. If history is to repeat itself, obviously, Mai Sakurai will become the new world champion. I don't think it will. But if we are going to get the Mai Sakurai in this match that we got against now Ishikawa, this is going to be a hell of a tasty main event. And again, I know I say this at least once every 3 or 4 Marigold standards. I cannot believe this is the same Mai Sakurai that was basically the comedy act mid-carder in Stardom, whose hat just kept growing in size. Like, just every time she came out, it was a bit bigger.
With the buck. They throw the dollars, Sakurai dollars.
Yeah, throwing the Sakurai dollars. Rumor has it that Stardom had to cut attendances because they had to accommodate the hats. And now she's main eventing pay-per-views as an absolute badass. And it's just like the work that she has done. And obviously, we're going to be talking about the development of some wrestlers, because in that main event, we have an absolute star in the making. We really do in Chika Goto. But man, this match is going to be hella tasty. I am very, very excited. And again, in 2022, if I'd told you that a pay-per-view
in Ota Ward
is in Ota Ward, absolutely, where Marigold will be looking to draw between 1,800 and 2,000. If I told you that is going to be centered around Mai Sakurai, you'd have laughed in my face, because again, there was nothing behind that. I'd seen nothing in the ring from Mai Sakurai to show that she had any of this in her locker. And yet you fast forward, 2.5 years, and she's just incredible. She's an absolutely fantastic wrestler. She's one of the brightest lights in Marigold, without a shadow of a doubt, and thoroughly deserves this main event. It's so well earned. And again, this match is going to be very, very good. They've got some preview tags as well coming up over the next weekend as we move into the True Victory Tour. And there are some really tasty looking preview tags for this match as well. Because obviously Marigold have only got one more Korakuen Hall show in 2025, the 27th of December, which rather infuriatingly is the day before we get to Japan.
Yeah. At the same time, it's just like, how much can you do? But yeah, talking about my Sakurai's improvement, I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. It doesn't matter where you're at a certain thing. If you believe in yourself, you put the time in, you will get to where you need to go. And obviously, that's what she's done. It's inspirational, really. Again, it's really like there's nobody, in my opinion, that has benefited from from Marigold becoming a company more than my Sakurai. Obviously, not Utami, not Mirai, not even Miko Ano. There's nobody, in my opinion, that has benefited more than one my Sakurai, and it's showing. It's showing. We kind of figured that after she lost the white belt to Victoria Yuzuki back at Grand Destiny, that okay, like she's going to move on from that. Like in a year or two, if they want to run another run with her, the white belt back, would it make sense? Sure, but I think it's time that for her to move up to the main event scene, and here it is. They had one of the best matches in Marigold's short history back at our first Dream. I can't say last year, this year. Technically, it was this year because it was on the 3rd of January. Now the stakes are even higher, Rob. Now the stakes are even higher. It's for the World of Marigold Championship. And I made mention that when Miko Ano wrestled my Sakurai back at the Dream Star, I'm like, why didn't Miko Ano beat my Sakurai? Like, why didn't beat her on the way to winning the Dream Star and then the red belt? Like, I just never understood why. I'm like, oh, that's why, because they wanted to save it for this big matchup coming up here at First Dream. And obviously, my Sakurai is gonna look at this like, hey, I beat you before, I can beat it again. If this is a legit shoot, the Vegas odds would have my Sakurai as the betting favorite because they wrestled the one time that they wrestled in a singles match, that the match had a decisive winner. It was my Sakurai. So who's not to say she can't do it again? So I think if you use that, you build that up, and you're absolutely right, buddy. I just saw maybe about an hour before we hit the record button that they have a tag match that's got now Ishikawa in it as well as Chika Goto. I'm like, oh, I saw that at Cork, and I'm really excited for that preview tag coming up, which again we'll talk about at the end of the episode. But I think this is me really cool. But it's gonna be really to see how Miko Ano can draw as champion and how my Sakurai can draw in the main event, challenging for the title. So we're mixing things up. It's not just Mayu. It's not just Utami. It's not just, I know she's retired, Nanae Takahashi. Like now we're going, not bringing in Io. It's like, okay, let's see if Miko Ano can draw that 16, 17, 1,800 people as champion, because we know she's a great wrestler and she's going to make for a great in-ring champion, but there's more to it. Can you draw the people in like we saw with Suri? Can you draw people in like we saw with Utami Hayashishita? So she has a lot of pressure on her shoulders, because not only was Utami and Suri great wrestlers, they were two and still are massive draws in pro wrestling. So how is she going to be able to be different yet the same? Here's her first step right here with my Sakurai coming up at First Dream. So I'm super excited for that matchup, my friend. And if that was the only match that was on the show, I would be okay, Rob Goon. But something tells me that you're going to tell me there's another match that is announced. Megaton versus Takada from UWFI.
Oh, well, I would love to see that, especially if Megaton is going to start inheriting moves from badasses that she's wrestled, which apparently is a new gimmick.
I love it.
Obviously I'm going to go into another huge match that has been announced very shortly, but it's something else I'm very intrigued about. Obviously, we've now got Miko Ano on top of the company. I'm intrigued to see how she draws as champion, because I think she did an interview very recently, and I can't remember who it was with, but she spoke about how both her and Utami never think about themselves. They are solely thinking about the company and elevating the company. And I must admit that does come across from the way that they've been, the way they've conducted themselves, the way that they've given interviews and things like that. So I am, and I'm sure every Marigold fan is exactly the same. I'm wishing nothing but the best for Miko Ano in this run, because again, and it sort of bled into the story they were telling with Chika Goto. Miko Ano's had to bide her time to challenge for this belt, and she's done considerably more than Chika Goto has. And I think, they don't want to, quote unquote, lower the prestige of the belt. And obviously it's leading somewhere. Chika Goto is 100% winning a singles championship next year. Like, I don't even feel
Rob said 100%. Sorry, Chika Goto.
I don't even feel like you'd get odds now at most betting places. But yeah, so I'm really excited to see what happens there. Obviously that isn't the only match that has been announced for Ota Ward, because we have got Mayu Iwatani versus Takumi Iroha for the GHC Women's Championship. Now, obviously, this was initially teased at Monday Magic back on the 27th of October, just after Takumi Iroha defended against Risa Sera. Mayu Iwatani came out as a complete surprise and basically hinted that she wanted a match for this GHC Women's Championship. And we hypothesized, well, is it going to be a Marigold ring? Is it going to be in a Noah ring? Is it going to be in a Marvelous ring? Where are we going to see this match? It turns out we are going to be seeing this at First Stream following Mayu Iwatani's successful retention against CoCo. CoCo is 15. I still cannot get my head around that. After that match, Takumi Iroha did come out, laid down the challenge for Mayu, basically accepted the challenge and said, we are doing this at First Stream at Ota Ward City Gym. Now, my first year watching Stardom fully, as actually reviewing it and doing a podcast about it, I was lucky enough to have Mayu Iwatani versus Takumi Iroha in two of the greatest singles matches I've seen. The one at the Way to Major League is absolutely tremendous, where Takumi Iroha was a stand-in for Suri. It was originally supposed to be Mayu versus Suri, but I believe Suri got injured and then ended up going to obviously the WWE. And then we got it again during the Goddess of Stardom Tag League for the World of Stardom Championship. Unless I'm very much mistaken, when we did our first Stardom Cast end of year awards, both those matches were 1 and 2 for best match of the year. They're two of the best Mayu Iwatani matches I've seen. They were Takumi Iroha at her blistering, just cold, merciless best. If they can get to that level, we are going to be seeing magic at Ota Ward City Gym. So again, we've seen what big match Mayu is capable of already in Marigold. The likes of the likes of Nanae Takahashi, the likes of Victoria Yuzuki. Mayu just puts on magic wherever she is. Takumi Iroha, incredible wrestler. Someone who actually is perhaps one of the only people in the world that has a winning record over Mayu as well in singles action. They've wrestled together 4 times. Takumi Iroha's won 2. Mayu's won 1, the last one that they had, which was back in November 2020. And then obviously one went to a time limit draw back in 2014. So I can't express how excited I am for this.
Rob, quick cheap plug for us over at Talk Joshi, because we're going to be covering the Sendai Girls show. Did you watch Red Energy versus Takumi Iroha and Venny?
No, it's on my list. I've got an admin day at work tomorrow where I'm going to be doing a load of marking and sort of filing and stuff. I'm going to be having the Sendai Girls show on in the background because I've heard to the point where another cheap plug, old host of the Stardomcast, Chris, messaged me to say he hasn't been watching a lot of modern wrestling at all. He tends to watch like retro wrestling. Something he said, basically he's managed to get back into a little bit of modern wrestling, and he said genuinely, if you haven't already seen Chihiro Hashimoto versus Suri, I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but he said it's an absolutely outstanding match. So yes, very much looking forward to that show.
The whole show was great, but that was like there's exchanges with Takumi and Miko Wada. Like Takashi's great, Venny's great, but there's exchanges with Miko Wada and Takumi Iroha. Like, man, Takumi Iroha, like we got to put her up there with the Mayus, with the Saya Kamitanis, with the Izumis.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's one of the best women, best wrestlers in the world. But brother, as far as this match, first of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, look how pissed off Mayu looks in this photo. Generally happy-go-lucky Mayu. She looks very upset here.
She does.
But look at her eyes. She's just like, boom. She got the eye of the tiger there. You're absolutely right, buddy. We knew this match was going to happen. We were like, it's going to happen on 1-1 at the Budokan show for Noah. It's going to happen at Marvelous. We know Marvelous is running some shows during Wrestle Kingdom weekend. That's pretty much what I'm going to dub it, but probably not before we get there. We were kind of hoping, like, we just want the match. But if we can get the match while we're in Japan, that is a double thumbs up. So we're getting the match on 1-3. And again, Rob, 2 minutes ago, we just talked about Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai. My guess is that match goes on last because it's for the big belt, for the big World of Marigold Championship. We know they're going to have a great match, but they better have their working shoes on because they're going to have to try to outdo Takumi Iroha versus Mayu Iwatani. Again, a singles match we have not seen in 5 years. So, and again,
5 years.
and Mayu's better now than she was back then, which is crazy to say. And Takumi Iroha is better now than she was back then, which is crazy to say considering Takumi, I think she had that shoulder injury and that knee injury, like I think in 2022 and 2023. And Takumi has come back. She is making up for lost time. That is, for part of my language, damn sure. So, again, this is another rematch that we have not seen in quite some time. We are so glad that we're getting it. The fact that we're getting it on First Stream. So you have that 1-2 punch, Rob. Victoria Yuzuki is on an absolute other level. We're going to be talking about her performances on these 3 shows. So it'll be interesting to see what that United National Championship match is going to look like. It's going to be interesting to see what the Twin Star Championship match is going to look like for this show coming up on First Stream. But First Stream, Rob, might be the show that actually steals the entire weekend, considering the fact that you have all those Stardom shows. You have, obviously Dream Queendom, you have Wrestle Kingdom, but the way that this Marigold First Dream card is shaping up to be with these first 2 matches, it's a possibility that might be the best show we see all week, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That Marvelous show, by the way, the 28th of December, which I think, unless I'm very much mistaken, the bell time, I believe, is 11:30. So there are 2 possible flights that I am getting. One of them, I could potentially be in Korakuen Hall in time for. The second one, I've got no hope. So it depends which one I get, because one match that absolutely will be on that card is Senka Akatsuki and Seri Yamaoka. Basically, after her and Victoria Yuzuki, Yamaoka this is, their unsuccessful attempt to dethrone the Twin Star champions Misamatsui and Jackie, Seri Yamaoka's post-match or backstage comments were interrupted by the always ready Senka Akatsuki, who, of course, had her gear on underneath her tracksuit and immediately stripped off. We were supposed to get this match at the Dream Star, if you remember. Unfortunately, Senka had to withdraw due to having pneumonia, so we are going to be getting that on the 28th of December at Marvelous's Korakuen Hall show. Now, something I didn't mention about the Mayu Iwatani thing was, just prior to Takumi Iroha coming out, we actually had a Superfly Championship challenge with Mayu Iwatani actually nominating Hummingbird as her next challenger for the Superfly Championship. Now, that's great. There's no date set for that match. The reason I bring it up here is because there is a lot of people who are like, why are we not getting Miyamoto? We teased this so long ago, and yeah, you're absolutely right. We did get this teased a long time ago. I imagine when you look at the fact that the red belt isn't going to be defended before First Stream, the white belt match has been set up for Sapporo on the 6th of December. I can't see it then being defended before First Stream again. You need something for that final Korakuen Hall show on the 27th of December. Now, you could arguably run Mayu Iwatani versus Miyamoto there. That's a big match that you can use. Or alternatively, we've seen Seri Yamaoka on this card going to be wrestling Senka on the 28th of December at Marvelous's Korakuen. Maybe Mayu defends the Superfly Championship against Mio at Marvelous. Who knows? There is time to do that after the Hummingbird defense, I feel, Matt.
Yeah, again, it's a good possibility. We'll see how that all shapes up. Another thing to kind of throw out there in the ether, my friend, is where's Utami Hayashishita? Do they use First Stream or do they use that Korakuen show as, hey, this is their first show back to draw tickets in, or do they use it for First Stream? And again, I'm going to fantasy book, do a special singles match with Utami versus Miyamoto. They had that gauntlet match that they had, I believe, in the summer for Marvelous at Korakuen Hall. They had a great sequence with Utami and Miyamoto. I know Rob's probably saying, Matt, so you're telling me Utami and Mio, they had a really good match? Yes, I know.
Shocking. I know.
Hot take. But this is interesting with Seri and Senka, because this is something that's been built up quite a bit, especially in the Marigold Ring, but it's happening over at Marvelous. My guess would be maybe Senka gets the win here, and then they run it back at Marigold, or vice versa. Maybe Seri gets the win. She's the visitor coming in to Marvelous and gets the win there, and then they run it back at Marigold, and then Senka gets the win back, and then they're 1-1, and then they can kind of pull the trigger on the rubber match whenever they want. So interesting to see interesting to see that they're pulling the trigger on this in Marvelous, considering the fact that a lot of the buildup was in Marigold and the fact that we were supposed to get the matchup in Marigold. So again, I'm loving this Marvelous versus Marigold relationship, and hopefully we do see a lot of it during the holiday season when we're over there in Japan, good sir.
Another title match that we will be having over December is Victoria Yuzuki making her second defense of the United National title. She'll be defending that against Misa Matsui. It'll be Misa's second attempt at the belt as well. This one coming from Sapporo on December 6th. Misa Matsui does not have fond memories of Sapporo. If you remember, she lost against Natsumi Shozuki in a match for the Superfly Championship in Sapporo. That, I believe, was around this time last year. I think it was November 2024. So I'm sure Misa will be looking for that to be a better trip to the north of Japan, though I'm not entirely sure. This match will be fantastic. This match I am very, very, very excited about. We've already seen one defense from Victoria Yuzuki. We're going to be talking about that shortly in Shinjuku Face, where I felt like it was a very raw, aggressive performance from both her and Rea Seto. I think this will be something completely different because in terms of speed, in terms of just silky smooth transitions, in terms of emotion, in terms of pace, there are very few in this company that are better than Misa Matsui. And even though I don't think Misa Matsui dethrones Victoria Yuzuki yet, especially not just before First Dream, I still think this is going to be an absolutely sensational match. My only negative is I don't want to see Misa Matsui lose another singles title match. However, it is softened somewhat by the fact that she is now at least a champion in the company. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in Korakuen because that tag match, don't get me wrong, Sari was great, Jockey was great, teamwork was great. The best part of the matches were the exchanges with Yuzuki and Misa Matsui. And I kind of said when I did I know last week you were stuck at work, partner, and I kind of said during the preview that I was like, I think they can set up 2 United National Championship matches here. Sari versus Sari Yamaoka versus Victoria Yuzuki, and then maybe if Misa Matsui gets a pinfall, she'll be able to get the challenge, be the next challenger for the title. They did say I think it'll be maybe Sari accidentally spears Victoria Yuzuki or something cheap happens. But Misa pinned her clean in the middle of the ring. I know there was some shenanigans with the chair, whatever.
Cleanish.
But like it wasn't like with a hook at the tights or anything like that. Like she hit her properly with the Misa Kwai driver. So and pinned her right in the middle of the ring. Was a very dominant pin. So I really enjoyed that. They did a great job with that match. One of my favorite matches from that fantastic show. And then it leads to right then and there, a future championship match for Misa Matsui. So smart booking, and these two really understood the assignment. Hey, let's knock it out of the park, but let's leave the door open for that big championship match that we have coming up here just in the first week of December. So again, really great stuff. Marigold just knocking it out of the park with these shows and really knocking it out of the park with hey, this was great, but guess what we have coming up? We got Mayu versus Takumi. We have Sakurai versus Miko Ano. We're doing something big with Chika Goto. Just you wait. We're doing Victoria Yuzuki versus Misa Matsui. It really seems like Victoria Yuzuki is like the Bret Hart of Marigold, just constantly defending the belt, She did that with the Superfly Championship, and she's doing it here with the United National Championship. She's going to have 2 defenses under her belt, pun intended, with the United National Championship before even Miko Ano has one. So it really goes to show what a fighting champion that she is. And it's just going to get the fan base behind her even more.
Do you see her potentially defending in Sapporo and then defending at Korakuen? Or do you think it'll be Sapporo and then Grand Destiny?
I mean, I would go all in with her. I would have her do both. I'd have her do this, have somebody challenge for Korakuen, no problem. Then maybe I do a number 1 contenders, either gauntlet or a 2-match series. Or maybe then Chika Goto gets the win because Chika Goto is obviously over in Korakuen Hall. We're going to get there. Or now Ishikawa. And then I would if you're already having to defend the belt at this blistering pace, keep doing it because what it's doing, it's highlighting her. You're giving her big matches on big shows, and all you're doing is you're elevating her, you're elevating the belt, which ultimately elevates the company and elevates everybody that she's working with, whether it's a Chika Goto, a Misa Matsui, and now again, even Rea Seto. We're going to get into in a minute part of the best match in Rea Seto's young career. That was a phenomenal match. I would just have her keep defending the belt, have her defend it every 2 or 3 weeks. Why not give her just an insane amount of great matches and highlight the younger talent in Marigold? Who wouldn't want to see in 4 or 5 months Victoria Yuzuki defending against Nagisa Takabana? I mean, come on, Minami Yuki. Why not? We're obviously they are clearly planning for the future by having your 2 big champions now, Miko Ano and Victoria Yuzuki. They're shaking things up. let's go all the way in with it. Why not? Why not?
I know that obviously we know we've got Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai. We know we've got Mayu Iwatani versus Takumi Iroha, which does mean that chances are we won't get a Superfly Championship defense unless they manage to sneak the Mio Momono match in beforehand. Because I do think it will probably be Mio that takes the belt off Mayu. Who do you see Victoria Yuzuki defending that untitled against? Because again, I can't see a world in which she's not champion at First Dream. Who for you is the person to complete that trio of matches at the top of the card?
Who's the hot hand right now outside of anybody that we didn't talk about? Chika Goto.
I did think you'd say Chika Goto.
Not unless you just want to go crazy and make it Utami. I mean, I wouldn't say no to that, you know. But I think if Utami's not, I mean, you can use this as a special singles match, Utami versus anybody. I mean, you can do Utami versus Victoria Yuzuki, but I think Victoria Yuzuki and Chika Goto, you know, I think you do Mayu and Takumi Iroha, Victoria Yuzuki versus Chika Goto, and then Sakurai versus Miko Ano. What a great 1, 2, 3 punch. It's going to be a great show, Rob, you know, regardless, because it's Marigold and they're great. But once that Mayu versus Takumi match happens, it's going to be another level. Now the card has gone to another level. And then you're going to have Victoria Yuzuki versus whoever is going to have to try to follow that. And then Sakurai versus Miko Ano is going to have to follow that. So you're going to put pressure on the last 2 matches, but a good pressure. You know, they always say growth doesn't happen without any friction. There'll be a lot of friction after that Mayu versus Takumi Iroha match. So, you know, let's see if these new champions, if they can hit it out of the park on a big pay-per-view in front of 15, 16, 17, 1,800 people, what have you. Because you have to remember, Rob, these shows I'm pretty sure are going to draw really well because there are more people traveling to Japan because of Wrestle Kingdom, because of Okada versus Tanahashi. That's the last time I'm going to say it, because of Shiri versus Sai Kamatani. That's and including us, me, you, and Amber. So obviously 3 new people, very much like WrestleMania weekend. All those other shows around always do better because people come in for WrestleMania. There's going to be a lot of people coming in for Wrestle Kingdom. So I wouldn't be shocked if this show does over 2,000 people. So you're going to put a really big highlight on your 2 new champions. So really interesting to see what that Victoria Yuzuki match is. But I'm going to say, because of the hot hand and what they're doing, I think you go with Chika Goto.
I think you are probably right. I'd like to think that you could arguably go with someone like maybe a Seriyama. You could do a Marigold Youth Movement. I think that could work really well. I think Utami is a good shout. Obviously, you know, if she is back in time for First Dream, we don't know if it's just if it's one injury, if it's an accumulation of injuries, or if it's just, you know, a bit of well-earned time off. It'll be interesting to see if she's back before First Dream or if they use First Dream as her first appearance back. I think if they do that, it'll just, like I say, special singles match will probably be more than suffice. But yeah, there's some really, really intriguing directions that Marigold could go, especially with Victoria Yuzuki in the United National Championship. So before we get there, Marigold do indeed start their True Victory Tour, and they start it on Saturday, the 22nd of November. I'll just briefly fire through this card. From the Morioka Gymnasium in Iwate, you've got Kazuna Tanaka versus Hummingbird, Yuki Yamazaki versus Megaton, Seriyama versus Minami Yuki versus Nagisa Takibana, Miko Ano and now Ishikawa versus Mai Sakurai and Chika Goto. Pencil that one into your diaries because that promises to be sensational. And then you've got Mayu Iwatani, Victoria Yuzuki, and Komomo Minami. They will be taking on the Darkness Revolution trio of Chiaki, Misa Matsui, and Rea Seto. Matt, those 2 top matches especially look very exciting, but for me, it is all about this red belt preview tag.
Yeah, you're not kidding, buddy. This is going to be great. Again, Sakurai's back. She's back with a vengeance. Now Ishikawa, they did a great job highlighting her. And again, we'll get into it in Korakuen Hall. And Chika Goto as well. Like, they were the ones that, like, really, you know, this is basically post Grand Destiny, post your biggest show ever and your best show, in my opinion, ever. Who are we highlighting? Obviously, Victoria Yuzuki, the new United National Champion. Obviously, Miko Ano, your new red belt champion. Chika Goto and now Ishikawa got a massive highlight in Korakuen Hall. And this is genius and simple and smart booking. Like, okay, we need preview tags to build up to First Dream. Who do we put on the other end? Let's do Chika Goto and now Ishikawa. Yes, this is going to be violent in the best way possible. Now, Rob, this show on the 22nd, which is this Saturday, is this a VOD or is this a live stream?
I believe all three of these are going to be VOD.
Okay, okay. Just so just gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to be a patient boy, good sir. A
You are.
patient boy and wait. But man, I'm super the whole show sounds really good. Man, that main event preview tag match move right up my alley, my friend.
We then move on to the 23rd, this coming Sunday, when Marigold moved to Aomori. The card for this show is as follows: Hummingbird versus Rea Seto, Chika Goto versus Ishikawa versus Yuki Yamazaki. Don't sleep
Ooh.
on that. That sounds very tasty. Kazuna Tanaka versus Nagisa Takibana.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mayu Iwatani and Komomo Minami versus Misa Matsui and Chiaki. And then in your main event, Miko Ano, Seriyamoka, and Megaton versus my Sakurai, Victoria Yuzuki, and Minami Yuki. So yeah, a couple of things to really point out there. Obviously, you have got that main event 6-woman, the tag team match that we have on screen, Team Mayu versus Darkness Revolution. Obviously, we've seen what Mayu and Komomo can do when they tag together. But for me, Kazuna Tanaka versus Nagisa Takibana is a really intriguing singles match. That could be a real opportunity, especially for Nagisa Takibana to really show out. And then that 3-way as well, especially with the I don't know where this turn of aggression has come from now Ishikawa, especially, but her and Chika Goto in a match with Yuki Yamazaki, who I've been really, really impressed with. And she's another one we're going to be talking about when it comes to Korakuen. Yeah, I'm excited for that 3-way as well.
Yep, they give Kazuna Tanaka and Nagisa Takabana that 9-10 minutes. We've seen sometimes on these underneath cards with the younger roster Marigold, it's like a 6 or 7 minute match. Man, it was really good. If would have just gotten that 2 or 3 minutes longer to flush out their story. So hopefully they give that match some time. But yeah, that 3-way is gonna be really good. Yuka's just been again another just great rookie. Like I don't know what's in the water over there over in Japan, but I'm really looking forward to this matchup you have on the screen, my friend. Mayu and Komomo Minami versus Misa Matsui and Chiaki. Obviously, all 4 of these wrestlers are great. Misa and Chiaki as a tag team, they really gel well, considering the fact they have like 2 different styles, where Chiaki has more of that old school 70s, 80s brawling style. Misa Matsui works more of like the junior style, the faster paced style, but they meld their styles really well. And we've seen Mayu and Misa Matsui really have great chemistry. Really have great chemistry. And obviously, Mayu is a great babyface seller. And I see Chiaki putting some heat on her. And then maybe Komomo Minami coming in all sorts of on fire. So these 2 shows we have coming up this weekend, my friend, they both look fantastic. Really looking forward to them when they do pop up on good old Wrestle Universe, my friend, which again, man, it's like $7-8, buddy. $7-8. And I actually just download and put it on my TV downstairs. And it's actually as easy as it is to use on my phone or on my computer. So much easier to use on the Amazon Fire Stick, my friend. It's brilliant. Again, Stardom World, New Japan World, copy and paste. What are you guys doing?
Final show that Marigold are going to be running is this Monday, where they will be moving to Akita. Again, just very, very quickly run through this card. Nagisa Takibana versus Yuki Yamazaki. Now Ishikawa versus Hummingbird. Minami Yuki versus Megaton. And then Miko Ano, Komomo Minami versus Mai Sakurai and Chika Goto. Another really exciting red belt tag match. Preview tag match. And then in the main event, it's going to be Mayu Iwatani, Victoria Yuzuki, and Seriyamoka against Chiaki, Misa Matsui, and Rea Seto. No Nagisa, no Zaki on this part of the tour as we delve into True Victory, Matt.
Yeah, again, 3 great. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 great shows. So hopefully they're up on. Oh, we do have to talk off air because next week is Thanksgiving, so we have to figure out our recording schedule, good sir. And I'm going to go see fine. And I'm going to go see Zach Sabbath the night before. So
nice.
Anywho, yes. Anywho, so yeah, obviously we will be reviewing these shows when they come up. Again, they're doing it. It really seems like very much they did with Utami versus Mirai, very much with Miko Ano and Utami. And now they're obviously, we're seeing with Miko Ano and Mai Sakurai, they're giving a lot of time on these preview tags to build up their championship match. Simple, easy, smart, yet effective booking. So really be interesting to see how everything really turns out with Miko Ano and Mai Sakurai. Considering Mai Sakurai teaming up with Chika Goto, again, Chika Goto may be the hottest hand right now in Marigold. That's not your 2 big champions. So you're putting Chika Goto in a great spotlight to get more eyes on her. And considering the fact that everybody's going to be watching these preview tags for Miko versus Mai Sakurai, that you're going to see Chika Goto getting a lot of praise and love coming off these tag matches. So not only with these preview tags, Rob, are you doing a great job selling your pay-per-view, selling tickets for your big championship match, But Chika Goto, who you're clearly rallying behind, is going to get a lot of the residual love as well. So that's smart. That's really, really smart from the Hat Man, my friend.
Last couple of bits of news before we delve into that good old trio of shows we're going to be talking about today. Marigold have announced the dates for New Year's Golden Garden Tour 2026, which is the post First Dream Tour. I'm not going to go through all of the dates. A couple of things to note, though. We have a gap from January 3rd all the way through to January 12th. January 12th is the first Korakuen Hall show of the new year for Marigold. They will then go to Korakuen Hall again on the 24th for Mayu Iwatani's 15th anniversary show, which promises to be a great match, let's be perfectly honest. And then we move to the 23rd of February, where we will also be at Korakuen Hall. So a couple of Korakuen Hall dates there. Obviously, there will be a couple of stops at the Osaka 176 box, and there will also be a couple of dates at Shinjuku Face as well, January 30th and February 13th for Shinjuku Face. So we should see some more live dates for Marigold as they head out on the road in early 2026. Final thing, Matt, and this is something that I sent to you, good sir, is that MIRAI is going to be having a very, very, very busy time during Wrestle Kingdom week. We know that she will be taking on Sarii on the 1st of January in the Shinjiro Otani tribute show, the charity benefit show that is going to be raising money for him. We now know that MIRAI is going to be taking on Chanyota as well for PPP Tokyo in the Tokyo Square in Itabashi on the 2nd of January, which I must admit, if this is something we can get to, I would be very excited. Not only because I want to see Tokyo Square in Itabashi, which is a specialized wrestling venue, but also because this is going to be the longer match that we should have had between these two in the Dream Star. Because if you remember, it was a 5-minute double count out in the Dream Star. And here we might let them just go, which is going to be very, very, very exciting.
Real quick, again, where I get all my Joshi news is you live on air. That MIRAI versus Sarii match on 1-1, that's for an Otani benefit?
Yes.
Oh, for some reason I thought that was PPP. I thought they were doing a 1-2. Okay, now we really need to go not only for MIRAI versus Sarii, but to benefit one of my favorite wrestlers.
It's in the morning as well, so we can still make the Noah show at Budokan.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Some
mimosa. I'm planning it, dude.
Mimosas and eggs. I gave everything over to our CFO today, so the inner workings. Anywho, yeah, maybe this will go 6 or 7 minutes. I kid. Yeah. This will be one that I absolutely agree, my friend. If we can fit this one in, which I think we can, because I think the only other thing we have this date is All Japan in Korakuen. Is that 1-2 or 1-3? No, it's definitely 1-2.
1-2 is the All Japan show at Korakuen, but I think that's at 11:30 in the morning.
Okay, so we'll figure it out. Yeah, 1-3 is Stardom, and Marigold, which we probably only get to 1-2. But anywho, yeah, this is definitely one we'll have to pencil in to go, my friend. This will be a great way to start off the new year. That's for sure.
Yeah, the All Japan New Year Wars show is at 11:30, and then this show is at 7:00 in the afternoon, in the evening at Tokyo Square in Itabashi. So definitely could make that one. And then yeah, the first is the Shinjiro Otani benefit show is at 11:30, and then the New Year show at Nippon Budokan for Noah is at 3:00. So loads of time.
Yeah, I feel bad for you and Amber, because when I walk into the Budokan, I'm just going to be chanting Kobashi, Misawa, Kobashi for like 4 hours, to the point where it's like we need to
That's right. They're going to turn around and be like, just get out. Get out of Japan.
Sawa, Kobashi.
Let's delve into these shows. Then we have got 3 to talk about. So the chances are, especially the first couple of matches on each show, we might be glossing over at a bit of a pace. But we're going to start with Battle Heart Night 12, live from Shinjuku Face on the 13th of November. Of course, main evented by Victoria Yuzuki versus Rea Seto. Komomo Minami returned to action on this show after missing the event on the 1st of November through injury. An attendance of 315 people on this card for Marigold. It's a 3.08% decrease on Marigold's previous attendance at the venue, which was 325 for Mask Fiesta. If you remember, this is the second lowest attendance they have pulled in of the 10 times they've run there, with it being the lowest since March 2025. However, with this being a Thursday evening show, without Utami Hayashishita, without Mai Sakurai, that could go some way to perhaps explaining a lower than average attendance. In terms of the results, then, we had a singles match, Hummingbird defeating Megaton via pinfall in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Four-way match, Nagisa Nozaki defeated Komomo Minami, Arina Yamanaka, and Nao Ishikawa. Nagisa Nozaki pinning Nao Ishikawa with the Noir Lancer in 8 minutes and 9 seconds. In a tag team match, the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui and Chiaki defeated Minami Yuki and Nagisa Takibana. Chiaki winning with the diving guillotine leg drop in 9 minutes and 28 seconds. In a tag team match, Chika Goto and the debuting Nightshade, technically debuting anyway, she did take part in a Rumble on the first stream from 2025. So there you go. They defeated Mika Wano and Kazuna Tanaka. Chika Goto pinning Kazuna Tanaka with the running power slam in 14 minutes and 45 seconds. In your semi-main event, Mayu Iwatani and Shoko Kishino defeated Seri Yamaoka and Yuki Yamazaki. Kishino pinning Yamazaki with a diving body press in 10 minutes and 52 seconds. And then in your main event, United National Championship on the line, the champion Victoria Yuzuki defeated Rea Seto with the victory sunset in 17 minutes and 45 seconds. Matt, let's start then with Hummingbird versus Megaton. Obviously, two people on indifferent runs of form, let's say. It was announced at Korakuen. I believe Megaton is currently on a 35-match losing streak, which is quite impressive. What were your thoughts on this one, good sir?
This was a match, my friend. This was a match.
It was a match.
Styles make fights, and yeah, this one was a match. 3 stars for me, good sir.
That's it. 3 stars. Let's just move on. Let's move on. Pretend it didn't happen. Moving on then to that four-way. Nagisa Nozaki, Nao Ishikawa, Arina Yamanaka, and Komomo Minami. I'm always really, really impressed whenever Arina Yamanaka is on one of these shows, because she has got that aura. I think her and Chanyota as a team have real legs in terms of Marigold. They should be teamed together a lot. I think we probably need to workshop the name Strong and Sexy, but I think in terms of an aura, Arina Yamanaka has that in spades. And then you throw in Komomo Minami, who is obviously doing great work at the moment, having just come off that injury. Now Ishikawa, who seems to be just that underdog and just loves to perform at that level where she knows she's going to get beaten up and seems to love it. And then, of course, you've got the brutality of Nagisa and Nozaki as well. Came together for a really entertaining four-way.
Yeah, Rob, this was terrific, and you're absolutely right. They made mention at the Korakuen show on commentary, which great job, by the way, with Sonny, Stu, and Tom, by the way. Really excellent job, as always, with the commentary. That Arina and Chanyota, they did hint quite a bit that these two should be a tag team. Maybe it's them that challenge Chiaki and Misa Matsui if they're still the tag champs at First Stream. You're absolutely right. Arina's always been very eye-catching, and then she comes out with the new gear back at Grand Destiny, and her aura level has been at another level since then. She's been on a lot of these Marigold shows. Hopefully they're locking her down for more dates, because she's getting reps in the ring with the great wrestlers that is Marigold, and she's getting more acclimated with the Marigold audience, and vice versa. The Marigold audience has the opportunity to see her more. So more opportunity like that, then she's just going to get over more with the fan base. We don't see four-ways often in Marigold, and this one just absolutely worked. And I kind of had a little fun with Hummingbird and Megaton. You knew you're going to get. It was the fun comedy. They should have put that match on second. They should put this match on first. You always want to have a hot opener to start your show. The Hummingbird Megaton match was more of your comedy. I would have started this show off with this match because Komomo is just great. Nagisa's hard hitting. Now Ishikawa is on a completely another level, and a lot of this match was based around the arena. She had the opportunity to shine and do all that great stuff that she does. She does that one-legged drop kick, missile drop kick off the top rope. Just seems like she soars in air. Like it's really, really impressive. Really great stuff with Komomo and Nagisa Nozaki. Now Ishikawa as well. Her and Komomo Nami, we've seen them on three ways and tag matches quite a bit over these last few months. They have really great chemistry, but everybody had opportunity to shine. This was like an all gas, no breaks match. You have 8 minutes, 4 wrestlers. You had some really great interactions. Ultimately, it's just the absolute brutality of Nagisa Nozaki that wins out, Rob. 3.5 stars. Great stuff here. Thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Moving on to the tag match, the tag champions getting the victory here. But again, it was about the showcase of Nagisa Takibana and Minami Yuki, who, especially with Chika Goto preoccupied slightly higher up the card, they seem to be teaming Minami Yuki and Nagisa Takibana together. And I quite like them as a team, Matt.
They're really great. Again, Minami Yuki, she did win the rookie tournament last year. They do this really great spot. Again, Nagisa Takabana, we've seen pretty much since the end of the summer into all these shows. She does that great run up the rope, double jump, high cross body. Gets a great reaction. But we've been seeing her team up with Minami Yuki. We saw it in the Korakuen show that Minami Yuki sets it up. Like it's your big spot towards the end of the match where something happens and she holds her opponent and then Nagisa hits it. So because now it even makes sense because if Nagisa hits it as a waterfall spot and Minami's the legal person, as soon as Nagisa hits it, she rolls off and Minami gets the pin. So I like that. It's like, hey, I know I'm not legal. I can't legally win this match, but I can do my cool move to help you win. Goes to show the great tag team chemistry that is Nagisa and Minami Yuki already, which I really, really enjoy. Obviously, Misamatsu and Chiaki, they have done a great job. By they, I mean both Misa and Chiaki and the powers to be at Marigold. They did a great job building them up for their Twin Star Championship match against Magenta, which ultimately they won. And then coming off, these two looked like absolute killers. And again, we'll get into that great tag team championship match they had at Korakuen Hall. But Nagisa and Minami Yuki, they held their own with the tag champs. So I'm totally with you. I think that they need to team up more often than not. And you're giving them the spotlight here with the tag champs. I know it's a non-title match. 8.5 minutes. I thought they were great. I thought, you had you had Misa and Chiaki. They did the usual heel stuff, right, where they're bending and breaking the rules, getting babyface sympathy on both Nagisa and Minami Yuki. Then when they come in to, for their big fire spot or for their big, when they come back to make the babyface comeback, the crowd's really into it. And not only do they make a comeback with singles, they make their comeback with tag team. So you almost have like 3 different comebacks in this match with Nagisa and Minami Yuki, which really got them over. Ultimately, though, it is Chiaki with that beautiful Bobby Eaton style top rope leg drop, putting away one Chiaki. Rob, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. This match actually got 4 stars for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. All 3 of these shows were great. All 3 of these, and considering like this was like a third, like this was a Thursday show. Again, I made mention. I knew it was going to be good, but I was really blown away just about how everybody really upped their game on this show.
And that's the same here because obviously we're going to be talking about, Kazuna Tanaka is fantastic, and I was really impressed with Nightshade. But this again was all about Chika Goto. Chika Goto's story is what has been sort of underpinning these shows leading up to the Korakuen Hall show this time, and sort of Chika Goto's desire to prove herself ready for the red belt and Miko Aono's steadfast defiance that no, you're not. Okay, you've had a couple of good results, big whoop. Okay, look what I've had to do to get a shot at this championship. We're not just handing out title shots. You got to earn it, which was tough love. I don't know if Chika Goto took it well, but we'll see. We'll see what the story arc is there. What did you think of this match? What did you think of a debuting Nightshade? And obviously, not more importantly, but more pressingly in terms of Korakuen, what did you think of Chika Goto and Miko Aono's exchanges?
I'll get my one little negative out of the way, Rob. I didn't like the fin. I didn't like what they used for the finish. Chika Goto's done a great job getting up the Goto choke slam as her finish. It's her best. It's her best move. It's effective. She did a hammerlock version on it on Miko Aono in Korakuen Hall. They have the GCS. You can make T-shirts on it. You can chant it. GCS, Goto choke slam. She wins with a power slam here. I was like, no, you're kind of getting her out of the mid card, putting her main events. You've established that choke slam as your finisher, and it's done really well. It's my only negative.
Okay.
With that out of the way, Rob, this match was phenomenal. Obviously, we knew we were going to get with Miko Aono and Chika Goto. I gotta say, Kazuna Tanaka and Chika Goto, their exchanges were phenomenal. Kazuna Tanaka took advantage of every opportunity she had in this match. And not only that, so did Nightshade. Nightshade is in there with our brand new World of Marigold champion. Rob, what I would do is in first stream, I'd have Nightshade win like some sort of tag match or six-person match. Then I'd have her challenge Miko Ano, maybe for that Mayu Iwatani anniversary show in Korakuen Hall. I think Miko Ano and Nightshade would be great because you can have Nightshade really batter Miko Ano, and then when Miko Ano in Korakuen Hall makes that big comeback, you know it's going to be violent, and you know the crowd is going to be behind it. We had shades of it, pun I guess in 10. I didn't really do it until I said it, of Nightshade versus Miko Ano. I'm like, oh, that works. And again, Kazuna Tanaka is taking advantage of every opportunity she has. But you're absolutely right, buddy. This was all about making Chika Goto, giving her the ball. Let's see if you can run with it, Chika. Let's see if you can hang with the big dogs here in Marigold. Let's see what you can do. The crowd's really behind you. You know, you got a fancy catchphrase. You're really, really working hard at your craft. Clearly, you're one of the most improved wrestlers, in my opinion, in all of wrestling in 2025. And her and Miko Ano, they gave us just a little taste of what we were going to get in Korakuen Hall. Rob, again, despite what I said about the finish, because again, when you have an established finish, you want to get that over because because this way the crowd can pop. Like you hit your big finish, 1, 2, 3, pop. When you hit something that you've never really hit before, it can kind of kill the pop. Regardless, Rob, I love this match. 4.25 stars for me. As much as I enjoyed the match we just talked about, this match I even enjoyed a little bit more. Really great stuff from all four of these wrestlers, and more Nightshade in Marigold, please.
Absolutely. I thought Nightshade was fantastic. And actually, if you remember what they did with Utami when she won the belt from Sari at First June 2025, was they gave her sort of someone who'd been, built up on the card and sort of basically parachuted in as a big monster challenger. And Nightshade is 50 times the wrestler Tank is. So I'd be more than happy for that.
50? You think? I'd say 48, 49, but I don't know about 50.
I thought 50 was being generous, to be fair. It's more like 75. Nightshade, I watched her in pro wrestling, and she had a fantastic match with Nyla Rose. She's a powerhouse. She's got great psychology. She's doing some really good work in Marvelous at the moment. Obviously, we had Sadie Gibbs on to talk, and she was full of praise for Nightshade. I'd love to see more of her in the company. And again, if she is someone that they just basically give to Miko Ano as a title defense, it'll be a great match, a really, really solid defense for Miko Ano. It'll make Miko Ano work as well. Like, it'll be something completely different. What's Miko Ano like where she is being absolutely dominated? One of Miko Ano's best early matches was against Bozilla. Okay, and yes,
right.
Nightshade isn't quite the powerhouse that Bozilla is, but she's in that sort of ilk. Like, we saw it at Saurias, and we want that match. So yeah, absolutely, that would be fantastic. I'd be really, really excited to see that. Whether it happens or not, I don't know, but fingers crossed. I think it could be a really good title defense, not only in terms of drawing, but in terms of giving Miko Ano a different dimension as a champion.
Nightshade reminds me a lot of Viper in Stardom, and I think if
Yes.
Rossi just books her that way,
Agreed.
I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, because Viper was great. Viper was really, really good in terms of the way they booked her. She actually wrestled a deceptive amount of matches for Stardom. It was like 70-odd matches she wrestled for Stardom. So, because she did multiple tours over there, because she was part of she was definitely part of Queen's Quest. Was she part of a Wedatai first? I think she was part of a Wedatai first. So, and then she had multiple matches with Io Shirai for the Red Belt. Really, really good matches. And yeah, they booked her really, really well. If they take a little bit of that and just simply copy and paste for Nightshade, I think you're going to be laughing. Semi-main event, Mayu Iwatani and Shoko Kashino taking on Sari Yamaoka and Yuka Yamazaki. Matt, what was your opinion of Mayu Iwatani and Shoko as a team? I must admit, just before I do actually ask you that question, I am glad that Shoko wasn't wearing the big back brace for Korakuen Hall. So hopefully that back injury has abated, because I must admit, when I saw her come out with it, I was like, oh my God, immediately flashing to Kazuna Tanaka. So fingers crossed that was just a precaution, and she's okay now.
Yeah, and putting her in tag matches, you're kind of lessening the danger from her.
Sure.
So they're doing a great job building up Choko. You know, they took the mask off. They
Yeah,
gave her, you know, she's under a name that's not an animal. So they're clearly she's singing to the ring
she is.
more, yeah, which we've seen before. So they're doing a great job highlighting it. I thought she was great here. I thought obviously Sari and Mayu, great chemistry. Yuka's another one, and Mayu gave Yuka enough in this match where it's just like, hey, guess what? Like this is the future, and the future is now.
Mhm.
But I thought Shoko was really terrific. Again, the stuff with Sari and Mayu, they had a great match at the Dream Star, great match in Korakuen Hall. That this could be a rivalry between these two, with basically the young Sari versus the big vet that is the legend and still very much in her prime in Mayu. I can watch those two wrestle, you know, for years and years and years to come. Again, we said at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to say it again. Yuki Yamazaki's just like literally, I don't know. I thought Yuka was the MVP of this match. I really did. I think Mayu did a great job, you know, playing the hits, getting some stuff in, laying in some psychology, but then letting the younger wrestlers really get their shine in this one. And ultimately, it was CoCo getting the big win with that top rope splash. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend. I thought this was another great match on what was ultimately really a must-see show.
So we move on to the main event then. United National Championship on the line. Victoria Yuzuki defending for the first time. And obviously there is a lot of history between Yuzuki and Rea Seto, both members of this Marigold youth movement. Obviously Victoria Yuzuki is, at least in Rea Seto's eyes, the main reason as to why she turned to join the Darkness Revolution. She wanted to get out from Victoria Yuzuki's shadow and to a lesser extent Sari Amoka as well. Wants to surpass her achievements, and obviously it was Victoria Yuzuki that Rhea hit with the chair before turning to the dark side. Obviously they then had a really, really good match in the Dreamstar, one of the best matches from the Dreamstar Grand Prix, if you remember, where it went to a time limit draw. Rea Seto, up until this point, hadn't beaten Victoria Yuzuki in singles action. I believe it was 0-2-1 in Victoria Yuzuki's favor. Unfortunately, that became 0-3-1 for Rea Seto. Couldn't quite dethrone the champion here, but this was fantastic. This was a really raw and aggressive match, and that's what I love about Victoria Yuzuki. And obviously, we're going to shower praise on Victoria Yuzuki, and we're going to shower praise on Rea Seto. But let's start with the champion. She can wrestle so many different matches, and the emotion level that she used to go, in my opinion, especially in Marigold's first couple of shows, the emotion and passion, for lack of a better phrase, would sometimes be a little bit disproportionate. So what I mean by that is she'd get too into the moment. And it almost felt like she was trying a little bit too hard. And she remedied that really, really quickly, to the point where her matches now are so captivating that it's really exciting to watch. Her fire ups are organic. The crowd are with her. They rally around her as a star. And what I really enjoyed was her on the sell. I thought she did a really good job of selling the work that Rea Seto was doing to her leg. And this is where I'm going to praise Rea Seto, because I've always been of the opinion that Rea Seto is almost too nice to be a heel. And here she was merciless. She absolutely battered Yuzuki's leg.
She was a jerk, Rob. She
Yeah,
took the
she
belt.
was.
She took the belt off. We'll talk about in the next few shows. She took the belt off. She's whipping people. She's
Absolutely destroyed Megaton. Like, just kept going for ages. But no, I thought Rea Seto was brilliant as the aggressor, especially in the early half of this match. I thought the Victoria Yuzuki's selling was great. I thought her power up was good, and she didn't forget to sell the leg, which was great. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a really, really great match, a great showcase for this Marigold youth movement that we have, and a really good showcase and highlight for Rea Seto, because I don't think anyone assumed that she was winning here. I think everybody assumed that it was going to be V1 for Yuzuki. But I thought that Rea Seto was the perfect foil here for Yuzuki. And you can see why these two are going to be tied together going through the next few years of Marigold's history.
Yeah, this was excellent. When I saw I read the results of this match, and I totally agree. I don't think anybody thought Rhea was winning the belt. but I saw it almost went 18 minutes, and I was like, oh, that really piqued my interest because like the one negative thing that I say over and over about these Marigold shows are like, I want more. Like that match went 7 minutes. I wish it went 9. That match went 14. I wish it went 15 or 16, which is a good thing to have. Like the match was so good. Like, man, I just wanted more of it. And I was like, 18 minutes. They did great when they had 15. Now where it's 3 minutes longer. It's the main event and the championships on the line. Oh boy, how I cannot wait to watch it. Considering the fact of how great the quality of the rest of the show was, where it's like everybody's firing on all cylinders. You know, I mentioned those 2 tag matches, the 4-way, the 3 tag matches, really the 4-way. Everybody's firing on all cylinders. This is the last match that people are going to see. I hope these 2 really, really up their game. To me, this was Rea Seto's best match she's had in her young career. Victoria Yuzuki up there with some of the great matches she's already had in her young career. Like they start out with great wrestling, and there's no holes in the there's no holes in the chain wrestling. Like there's no you can put that looks that looks phony. They don't have that holding good. They're wrenching, they're selling, they're countering. Everything made sense. They don't have what a lot of wrestlers you see have happy feet, where they're taking too many steps and they're kind of tripping over each other. Great fundamentals. Then Rita Sato's like, you know what? I'm a heel. I want that belt. You know how I might not be able to out wrestle Victoria Yuzuki. She's definitely faster than me. I'm going to take this to the outside. And she takes it to the outside by doing a dragon screw off the apron and starts picking apart Yuzuki's leg. And then we see the other members of Darkness Revolution distract the referee while Rea Seto takes a chair to Victoria Yuzuki's knee. And then she properly takes the belt off and she starts whipping Victoria Yuzuki in the crowd with it while the referee is distracted. Now, what that does there is it does really 2 things. One, it gives a lot of babyface sympathy on Yuzuki because she's getting hit with an illegal object. Rea Seto is using the illegal object clearly in front of the fans because she's literally doing it in the crowd. So now you're putting heat on Rea Seto because like once Yuzuki makes that comeback, the reaction their crowd is going to do is going to be even bigger. And that's exactly what happens. Yuzuki fires back with these forearms, these kicks, and then every time she hits something, back to the cell. It looks like she's going to make her big comeback, and then Rea Seto does another dragon screw while Yuzuki is in the corner. And I was like, oh man, that was gross. Like I know obviously it was being protective, but it really looked like Yuzuki wrenched her knee. Excellent stuff there. Rea Seto goes back to the trailer hitch that she does. We've seen her win quite a few matches with that. And I believe that was the finish of their Dream Star. I think she had it in on Yuzuki and then the bell rang. So it's obviously that Rea Seto's done a great job building up that, very much the opposite way I said with Chika Goto. Rea Seto's done a great job building up that finish where we're conditioned she can win a match with it and almost beat Yuzuki in the Dream Star with it. So we're conditioned like, man, I know that Yuzuki's probably going to win here, but like, you're on the edge of your seat. I'm like, is it a possibility that they switch the belt? You know, is it where they're going to maybe hot potato it? And that's what you're thinking, considering the fact they kind of blur the lines there and I have you and everybody else that's in this building on the edge of your seat. That just really goes to show you how great of a professional wrestler Yuzuki and Rea Seto are in the story that they're telling. Really great stuff. We see Rhea with a few near falls and some roll ups. I thoroughly enjoy that. Yuzuki comes back with a pop up with a pump knee, which he's really started to do quite a bit of his last 2 or 3 months, but she can't follow up on the pump knee right away. However, that pump knee hit Rea Seto so hard that by the time Rea Seto gets back up, Yuzuki has enough adrenaline and the crowd's behind her. She's getting the adrenaline from, she's feeding off the crowd, which is what you want as a babyface. She's able to hit another pump knee, and that second one was just as brutal. I thoroughly enjoy that. And then Victoria Yuzuki hits a beautiful super kick and that pump handle slam for a 2 count. And then she hits a buzzsaw kick and an even stiffer super kick because, again, the adrenaline's going. So now, again, the crowd is behind her because of the damage and the illegal damage that was done earlier on the match. So now the crowd is more invested. It gets Yuzuki more invested. She climbs to the top rope, hits the top rope victory shooting for the 3 count. 4.25 stars. This was a great match to end a great show. The one little thing that I would have done, and this is something I always notice with Eddie Guerrero when you go to the frog splash, she's climbing the top rope for the big move. There's the work done on the knee. And again, I understand because the crowd, as I just mentioned before, the crowd is behind Yuzuki, giving that extra shot of adrenaline. I would have wished she would have taken her time to get to the top rope. Because you would see in these big Eddie Guerrero matches that he's going for the frog splash and he's climbing. He just, oh man, I'm so exhausted. I'm selling the back of the knee. And then the crowd's like, come on, Eddie. Come on, Eddie. Considering the fact the crowd was so invested in Victoria Yuzuki in those last closing stretch, if she would have just taken just a few more seconds to sell, like she gets the one leg up and then she tries to put the bad leg on the second rep and like, and is holding it. And then maybe she pulls down the knee pad and then you're looking right at the crowd, like, and I'm selling in that section's like, come on, Yuzuki, come on. And maybe they even do something where Rea Seto gets to the top rope and they have a top rope fight and Yuzuki gets a big forearm and then Rea Seto takes the big bump off the top rope and you're like, yeah, now she's in prime position. Then she goes to stand, but can't stand all the way. And then she's looking at the crowd and the crowd cheers her on. She smacks the knee to get the adrenaline going. And then she hits. I think if she could have milked that, Rob, she would have got a little bit more. She's only 20 years old. Mayu Iwatani, one of the greatest sellers of all time, is her mentor. She will get there. It's just something that I noticed when she was climbing. I would always see in these big Eddie Guerrero matches how he would milk the frog splash and he would make that moment even bigger. Again, buddy, 4.25 stars. You can't, I mean, this was great. This is just, if anybody had any doubt how great Victoria Yuzuki is going to be as United National Champion, this match definitely silenced all the doubters. Rea Seto is now a major player. They put her in a main event almost 18 minutes. And she didn't just deliver, buddy. She over-delivered. And again, considering the fact how great the rest of the show was, she knocked it out of the park here. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. Again, 4.25 stars. Must-see match.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, again, you hit the nail on the head, I think, with that last statement. Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's the Eddie Guerrero thing you're comparing, obviously, Victoria Yuzuki, who's literally 2 years into a career as of the Korakuen Hall show, the 17th of November. You know, against one of the greatest wrestlers that we've seen in Eddie Guerrero. So I think Victoria Yuzuki, every interview that has been given about Victoria Yuzuki or by Victoria Yuzuki has talked about how she is a sponge for the pro wrestling business. You know, those are little things that she will undoubtedly pick up very, very quickly. Because again, especially now that she is one of the top stars in the company, you know, she is going to be put in those prevalent positions as the unchampion. So, you know, we're going to see more of Victoria Yuzuki in those high profile moments. And I have no doubt at all that she'll be able to execute that without a doubt. Moving on then to the show on the 15th of November, night 13 of the Battle Heart Tour, live from the, well, not live, it was on video on demand, from the 176 box in Osaka. The attendance, 425 people, saw the return of Shino as well. It's a 5.46% increase on the previous attendance at the venue, which was 403 back on the 11th of October. It's the fifth highest at the venue of the 14 times the company have run the venue, with the venue now surpassing Shinjuku First Ring as the second most run in the company's history, behind Korakuen Hall, which they've run 21 times. So there you go. And just for a little bit of a comparison, the current Marigold average at the venue stands at 378. So well above that, a really good number for Marigold at the venue. The results then: singles match, now Ishikawa defeated Hummingbird with a horizontal cradle pin in 6 minutes and 54 seconds. Tag team action, Komomo Minami and Shino defeated Megaton and Nagisa Takibana, with Shino submitting Megaton with the Scorpion Deathlock in 10 minutes. Singles match, Arina Yamanaka defeated Kazuna Tanaka with the NDMA in 5 minutes and 21 seconds. In your tag team semi-main event, Mika Wano and Shoko Kashino defeated Chika, Goto and Minami Yuki. Mika Wano pinning Minami Yuki with a Tiger Driver in 14 minutes and 58 seconds. And then in your main event, an 8-woman tag match. Don't know why I've written 6. Mayu Iwatani, Seri Yamaoka, Yuki Yamazaki, and Victoria Yuzuki defeated the Darkness Revolution quartet of Nagisa Nozaki, Rea Seto, Misa Matsui, and Chiaki. Seri Yamaoka gained the win over Rea Seto with the dial lock in 16 minutes and 21 seconds. Matt, Mayu Iwatani may have called Hummingbird out as her challenge for the Superfly Championship, but I think it's fair to say that Hummingbird went into Korakuen Hall with spotty momentum, to say the least.
Yeah, you figured if that's the way that you were going to go, you figured you'd get her win here. I'm never going to complain about a Now Ishikawa win, because I love Now Ishikawa, yeah, and apparently everybody in Korakuen is like, damn right, let's push Now Ishikawa. This was, again, I say it all the time, I say it again, you want to start your shows off with a hot opener. If I was to look at this card and they said, Matt, what match starts this card? Hummingbird and now Ishikawa.
Yeah.
They delivered. They have two different styles. Hummingbird more of the lucha, style, more of the junior style from All Japan in the 90s, where now Ishikawa just wants to punch you in the face, kick you, and suplex you around the ring. And everything made work. It was the strength versus the speed. Really great stuff. Hummingbird just really so intricate with some of her submissions, some of the stuff she does off the ropes. Now Ishikawa just coming back with like the big clotheslines, the big suplexes. Thoroughly enjoy that. Hummingbird hits his 360 kick to Naomi Ishikawa. And again, we've seen Hummingbird not only getting great with that lucha style, but her striking game has really, really improved over the last 2 or 3 months. And then Naomi Ishikawa was like, okay, you want to hit me? I'm going to hit you back. So we had a nice little exchange between the two, but ultimately it was Naomi Ishikawa hitting basically her version of the Kuma roll after blocking the European clutch, which I really like that for the 3 count. 3.5 stars. I'm going to say this now. I'm going to say it again in another match. You know what I'm going to go with. 7 minutes. I wish it would have got 9. I wish it would have got 10. This was great. There's some matches on this show. It was a fast show that I was like, man, this could have benefited for a few more minutes longer. And this was one of them. But regardless, that's a good problem to have. I thought this was great. 3.5 stars. Really great seeing now Ishikawa pick up a win on this jam-packed show.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing actually, because they gave both the semi-main and the main event a decent amount of time. But then the Arina Yamanaka and Kazuna Tanaka match only got less than 6 minutes. I was like, oh, I was really looking forward to that match as well. Partly because I'm a huge Kazuna Tanaka fan, but also because I was really intrigued to see what she could do with Arina Yamanaka. But again, it did seem like a really short show, as a lot of these tour shows are for Marigold. Kimomo Minami and Shino against Megaton and Nagisa Takibana. I'm a big fan of Kimomo Minami and Shino as a team. And, again, I'm not going to retread old ground and sort of talk about how a 16-year-old is perhaps the most charismatic person on your entire roster, but the team of Kimomo Minami and Shino is excellent. If we are looking at teams, especially if we are looking to develop a tag team division of sorts, to start challenging for these twin star titles, I think Shino and Kimomo Minami would be a great fit. And I know that Shino, obviously, in the same way as Hina back in Stardom, is sort of hamstrung by school dates. But whenever you can get her in, team her with Kimomo Minami, because the chemistry between the two was really evident here. Even in a match with a comedy wrestler such as Megaton, I think it still worked really, really well.
Yeah, in Megaton, she did her comedy shtick in here, and then she gets double team. Well, basically, the match starts off with Shino and Kimomo Minami doing some double team work on the Megaton. You're absolutely right, because I don't think these two have ever teamed before, at least just the two of them. Because obviously, Shino's only wrestled a handful of matches because, again, she's a teenager and she's in school. So, like, right away, I'm like, oh, these two have really great tag team chemistry together. Nagisa comes in, she makes the save, Megaton takes advantage. We get the Megaton comedy shtick, which, again, it works. Match number 1 did a great job warming up the crowd, and I think Megaton should be match 2, match 3, because that's when you want to put the comedy in. You had a lot of fun. Nagisa was great here. She had great sequences with Kimomo, great sequences with Shino. Again, 3 of the younger wrestlers on this loaded roster. Future is looking bright for Marigold. And the Megaton, she throws her splash in of comedy. She misses the Megaton press. Nagisa comes in with that beautiful double jump crossbody, which, again, she should do every match because that's a big highlight. Ultimately, though, just Kimomo basically taking Nagisa out, and then Shino hits a barrage of kicks onto Megaton and then forces Megaton to tap out with the Scorpion Deathlock. 3.5 stars. And I thought 10 minutes was the perfect time to tell the story between these 4 ladies.
5 minutes was not the right amount of time for these 2 ladies. I was a little bit disappointed, not going to lie. Not with the content in ring, obviously, but I wanted to see more. And this, a show that went, this was this the one that wasn't even an hour and 40 minutes? There was one that was, it was an hour and 41, or it was either an hour and 41 or it was just under an hour and 40 minutes. I was like, you had so much time, especially with it being an afternoon show. You had so much time. But again, I can't complain. We got some really good matches on this show. We got a fantastic Korakuen Hall show, so I can't complain. But I would have loved to have seen more from these 2 together.
I liked how it started where Kazuna Tanaka's trying to throw the strikes and Arena's doing like all the Matrix dodge. She's like, no, you can't hit me. You can't. You can see Kazuna getting pissed early.
Yeah.
Arena runs her really flashy spot. She's the running X Factor. And then she gets a little too cool for school because Kazuna Tanaka's like, now I got you. And then once she finally hits her, she hits her. And again, I think Kazuna Tanaka realized, like, I'm only getting a few things in this match. I'm going to make everything count. And she did. I totally agree, partner. This was, I had 3 3/4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You get this 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be next level. And you're absolutely right. Like, this show was under 2 hours. Even if you need to shave something, shave a minute or two off the last 2 matches. And I think it still would have been fine. But these two, they maximized every second they did. Again, I thought it was a great beginning with Arena doing the Matrix stuff, dodging it from Kazuna. Then once Kazuna is able to get those strikes in, that's the best part of her offense. She really lays everything in. That running knee strike that she hit on Arena, I thought was great. But ultimately, it is Arena hitting up. She hits that beautiful. It's almost like a jumping wizard. Like, it almost looks like, instead of like when Muda does it, how he kind of like launches off the person's knee that they feed her. It looks like Arena almost like she puts her foot in the person's like hip pocket and then hits up like this like a standing wizard. It's beautifully done.
Yeah.
She did it in Cork, and she's been doing it quite a bit. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then she hits that split-legged reverse DDT. That, what does she call it, Rob? The MDA?
The MDMA.
What did that stand for? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I don't know. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me it's really,
know.
really obvious. But
Let us know.
I don't know.
Again, 3 3/4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Please run this back, Marigold, with 9, 10 minutes on the clock.
That'd be grand. That'd be grand. Miko Ano, Shoko Kishino against Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. Chika Goto tried again. Chika Goto failed again to get her match as a championship match. Miko Ano again steadfastly denying Go Chika the opportunity at the Marigold World Championship. And there's a little bit of fire, a little bit of ferocity in the way that Chika Goto attacks this match, and it's what I love to see, because I really like that fired up, embittered Chika Goto, and that's what we've been getting over these couple of shows we had into Korakuen.
Yeah, we've noticed with Kokiyamare, being injured a few times this year, that we've seen Chika Goto, Minami Yuki be a team, and they've been fantastic. They were great here. One thing I noticed with Shoko Kishino is she always does that big, in the tag matches, she'll hit the big Superfly splash, and that'll lead to the other person hitting the finish. So, like, it doesn't matter. I think she did a match with Mayu. She did it somewhere like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she does it here at Miko Ano, where she hits the big splash off the top rope onto Minami Yuki, and that opens up the door for Miko Ano to hit the Tiger Driver. But again, more great stuff with Goto and Yuki as a team. They work really, really well together. Chika Goto here looks like an absolute star. I mean, she just takes so much punishment from Miko Ano and then fires up. The crowd gets really, really behind her. She's starting to get a really big, loud, and loyal fan base, and that's exactly what you want, because you're building up another potential star in Chika Goto. And again, we got Utami eventually coming back. We got Kokiyamare coming back. Mayu's obviously crushing it. We have 2 new champions that are doing really, really well and will continue to do really well. The continued improvement of Mai Sakura. I mean, Marigold's an absolute loaded roster with a lot of great things in the future for them. Again, I thought this was really, really great. Chika Goto is somebody, Rob, I think that he can absolutely have a massive breakout year in 2026. Really good stuff here. Ultimately, like I said, it was basically just kind of divide and conquer, where Ano's able to get Goto out of the ring enough time where Kishino and herself, Miko, the champion, can put away Minami Yuki with the Tiger Driver. 3 3/4 stars for me. Another really solid match.
We then move on to the main event, 8-woman tag match. Darkness Revolution coming up short against the Mayu Iwatani-led quartet of Victoria Yuki Yamaoka and Yuka Yamazaki. Matt, what were your thoughts on this main event, and who are your standouts from each of the teams?
This match was great. Everybody was a standout, and made mention before about how Sky Blue wanted to do something with fire, and then the men were like, no, because that's our spot. This is the only match that had the big wild brawl, again, because you don't want to water it down. As soon as the bell rings, I'm like, of course, 8 people, main event, Darkness Revolution. This goes all over the place. I mean, from the time the bell rings, I mean, this match is out of control in the best way possible. We get some heat on Yuki Yamazaki. You can make a couple comeback. You think that she hits the Insaguri, she tries to tag out, she tries to do a couple things, she tries to tag out. A lot of it is Nagisa Nozaki just really punishing Yuka. Eventually, Yuka makes the hot tag to Mayu, and Mayu comes in all sorts of fire. The evasion drop kick, the super kicks, the kicks. Then eventually, we just get Darkness Revolution working in tandem. They put a little heat on Mayu. Again, when you have almost 17 minutes to play with, and you have 4-on-4, 8 people, you can do the double heat spot, which I thought was really interesting that Mayu got the first tag and then she takes heat. I'm like, I guess that makes sense because Mayu is such a great seller and she's so explosive when she's able to come in from a hot tag. Eventually, we get some great stuff with Sari Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki. A lot of this match, Rob, was tag stuff with Sari and Yuzuki versus Chiaki and Misa Matsui, because the next show, which we're going to talk about, had the tag team championship on the line. Now, Rob, there was some great exchanges with Mayu and Yuzuki versus the tag champs. Not only that, but Mayu and Victoria Yuzuki, there was points in this match where they pretty much at one point or another took out every member of Darkness Revolution Army. Is that a tag team we see somewhere in the near future? I know we kind of touched upon it a little bit since Mayu's been in Marigold, but a lot of it was on play here in this match with Mayu and Yuzuki with the double super kicks, with the tandem, almost like Rockers, Young Bucks style, fast-paced offense. And I was like, there may be something there. There's really great stuff with Misa Matsui and Mayu. Really great stuff with Misa Matsui and Victoria Yuzuki. Again, more explosive, great offense. And then I like it how Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki, they're the hammers in this match. They're like, we don't want your flashy stuff. We are going to slow this down and get the proper heat, which I thought was great. Ultimately, you get Sari and Victoria Yuzuki. They do almost like a heart attack, shades of Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart from the Hart Foundation onto Rea Seto. Rhea comes back with the Regal Plex onto Sari for a 2 count. This opens up the door for everybody to hit their big moves. We get the waterfalls back and forth. Sari hits that beautiful second rope spear and then is able to hit another spear and a roll up onto Rea Seto. I love this match. 4.25 stars, Rob. This was terrific. All 3 of these shows really had some great quality of wrestling, and this had a little bit of everything. Singles wrestling, tag wrestling, wild ECW style brawl, 2 different sets of heats. Considering the fact that you did your preview for your tag title match, but you also gave us a preview that Mayu and Victoria Yuzuki, if they do team up, Rob, they might be able to take on the world. Ultimately, it was Sari getting the win over Rea Seto.
Moving on then to the main event, if you will, the Korakuen Hall show that Marigold broadcast live with English commentary on Wrestle Universe Monday, the 17th of November for night 14, the final night of the Battle Heart Tour. Mara Sakurai made her return from injury on this show. We're going to talk a little bit about the stats and things going into the title matches and such, but I want to talk briefly about the attendance. So the announced attendance inside Korakuen Hall was 785. Now, this is an 11.5% decrease from Marigold's previous attendance in Korakuen, which was 887 on the 13th of October for MIRAI's final Marigold match. It marks Marigold's lowest attendance at the venue since the 25th of April, where they drew 680. It's the lowest since Mayu Iwatani joined the company, and it's the joint 3rd lowest of the year. Matt, do you think Marigold will be disappointed with this attendance? Obviously, it is a Monday, therefore it is a week show, but I think looking at the trajectory, especially once Mayu signed, that number I think Marigold will look at as a little bit of a negative.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it as you just came off your big show, Grand Destiny. I know obviously different venues, Sumo Hall and Korakuen, but you figured you had a lot of new fans in that building. You thought maybe it would have resonated into more ticket sales in Korakuen Hall, and actually it was lower. So a lot of different ways that you can slice it. I'm just going to look at one thing, Rob. What was the one thing missing on this show that's usually on every Marigold Korakuen show?
Utami Hayashishita.
Utami Hayashishita. That's the way that I'm going to slice it. You can look at it a whole bunch of different ways. It's like, well, now we have 2 new champions. So is it on them? Not really, because the belts weren't on the line. They were on the show. But I'm going to look at it as, let's see what happens when Utami comes back. Considering the fact you have all this great momentum coming off Grand Destiny, you have all this great momentum talking about the 2 shows we just talked about in glowing terms. Let's see it when our big star Utami Hayashishita comes back. If the numbers do improve, because we talked off air, and obviously we're going to talk on air. even though the numbers were low, and yeah, they're going to be disappointed with 785. I think that Marigold is probably going to be around, they should be aiming for around the 900s for every show, considering how great this roster is and how many great storylines they have going, and the main eventers and the mid-carders and the young wrestlers coming up. I think they always want to be floating around that 900 away. But I think that let's see what happens when the Red Queen comes back, because that may be a telltale sign that, like, Tommy Shista may be a bigger star than we already thought, considering the fact that the low draw here, she's not on the show. So let's see when it is time for her to come back. Again, we don't know if it's injuries or just, hey, she wanted time off, which again, she's been working at breakneck style for a lot of years, my friend. So that is definitely a vacation and time off that she has earned. So let's see when our former champion does come back, if we see the numbers spike back up.
And those 785 people saw a fantastic show as well. The number, again, is nowhere near indicative of the quality of this show, because this is one of my favorite Korakuens that Marigold have put on this year. I think it was a really, really great show. You've got to remember as well that initially the main event of Mayu Iwatani versus CoCo, yes, it is Mayu Iwatani, of course, but CoCo is a 15-year-old. Okay, you know, she's not going to be drawing houses at 15 years old and 20 odd matches into her career. She's had 6 singles matches before this and lost all 6. So, you know, she's not a money name. You know, again, no Utami, no red belt match, no white belt match. So I think there are certain things that you look at and go, okay, well, the fact that the attendance is lower, okay, Marigold might be disappointed. However, the card itself, the buzz that the card got, the fact that we are setting up things like Takumi Aroa versus Mayu, like Mai Sakurai and Miko Ono, I think that's going to build up your talk as well. And November is, you know, they drew less. They didn't draw well in November last year either. So that's something to bear in mind as well. In terms of the results for this show, then, Kamomo Minami and Shoko Kashino won in the opener, defeating Hummingbird and Yuki Yamazaki, with Shoko Kashino getting the win over Hummingbird by reversing a pinfall in 7 minutes and 50 seconds. Chanyota and Arina Yamanaka, Strong and Sexy, apparently, is the tag name. Again, I think they're probably going to workshop that. Defeated Minami Yuki and Nagisa Takibana. Chanyota getting Nagisa Takibana up into the jackhammer in 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Tag team match, the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki and Rea Seto defeated Megaton and Kazuna Tanaka. Rea Seto getting the win with the cattle branding in 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Always a big fan of that move. Singles match, and this was fantastic, by the way. Where the hell did this come from? Mai Sakurai defeated Naoya Ishikawa with the STF in an 11-minute and 22-second war. Marigold Superfly Championship on the line here. Mayu Iwatani, the champion, defeating 15-year-old CoCo with a Dragon Suplex in 8 minutes and 51 seconds. CoCo take a damn bow. Semi-main event, Twin Star Championships match. Darkness Revolution, Misa Matsui and Chaki retained their championships, with Misa Matsui pinning Victoria Yuzuki with a Misa Kawaii driver in 19 minutes and 33 seconds. And then in a singles match, your main event of the evening, Miko Ono defeated Chika Goto with a Texas Cloverleaf in 14 minutes and 36 seconds. Again, it is worth pointing out that Chika Goto did plead with the crowd and with Rossi Ogawa to get this changed into a title match at the last moment. She was emphatically denied by Ogawa. Something else I just want to bring up as well. Initially, the main event for this show, as we found out from Sonny on commentary, was supposed to be Mayu Iwatani versus CoCo. But because CoCo is only 15 years old, laws in Japan prohibit her from wrestling after 8 o'clock, which is why that match was moved further down the card, and Miko Ono and Chika Goto was set as the main event.
Question though, Rob, maybe because I'm a big fan of Judas Priest, breaking the law.
Yeah.
How will they know, the school system, that it's CoCo because she wrestles under a mask?
That's a good point. That's a good point. And actually, the commentary team did say that CoCo did challenge Mayu Iwatani at Mass Fiesta. And Sonny was like, how do you know? It was actually Mayu Chika in the ring. We don't know that's Mayu Iwatani. So there you go.
Our guy Sonny living the gimmick. But I thought
the gimmick.
Because I thought that either that was the main event or the tag title match was going to be the main event, and I was like, oh, third from the top, and then they said, yeah, because she's only 15, she's not allowed to wrestle past a certain time. Like, oh, but she's in a mask. No, I totally get it. I totally get it. I'm waiting for somebody in your school for that to happen. Be like, I don't know, is them they're in a mask? I don't know. Um, yeah, ultimately, though, again, great. I mean, the whole show was great, but like from that the Sakurai match on, it was just like the Yowzers, all gas, no brakes, brother. Again, I totally agree. Despite the under 800 people, this was a phenomenal, phenomenal show. And again, the best form of advertisement is word of mouth. Those 780 some odd people definitely went, the next day at the water cooler. How was the show? It was great. Come to the next one. Come to the next one. Come to the next one. I'm sure, like once Utami comes back and if they put a championship match, a bigger a red or white belt match on this Korakuen show, I think they'll probably pop the closer to the 900 mark.
Let's start with that opener then. Komomo Minami and Shoko Kashino getting the win over Hummingbird and Yuki Yamazaki. Again, all that momentum for Hummingbird going into the Superfly Championship match. For me, the standout in this match was Yuki Yamazaki. I thought Yuka was absolutely fantastic in this. And I feel for us at least, perhaps she gets a little bit overshadowed with, the likes of Komomo Minami, especially with Victoria Yuzuki, Seriyama. And I feel like we perhaps talk even more about like the likes of Nagisa Takibana. Yuki Yamazaki was brilliant here. She's such a solid, compact, no-nonsense wrestler. Everything she is asked to do, she does with confidence. She does it really well. And I think she's got a really bright future in this company at just 18 years old.
She knows what she does and she does it well. She doesn't try to overcomplicate things just yet. You can always add more to your arsenal. Like she has her set moves and she knows where to put them and she knows how to sell. She knows how to get the most out of tag matches. I'm sure you have other people you're putting together the matches that she's in, like the Utamis, the Sakurais, the Mayu. So again, she does a great job there. I totally agree. Hummingbird, she's terrific. Komomo Minami, she's great. Shoko, again, now that she's no longer flying penguin, although I'm sure they can bring it back every now and again.
Absolutely.
She was terrific here, getting the win, but I totally agree. I thought Yuki Yamazaki was great. She had some great exchanges with Komomo Minami. Komomo Minami was doing a great job selling. I don't think we talk about how much of a great and up-and-coming seller Komomo Minami is. She was selling a lot of Yuka's stuff really, really well. It's not like she was selling it like it killed her, because there's always level to selling. Like I'd always hear Ricky Morton say, you can't sell the first move like you just got shot out of a cannon, because then what's next for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 minute matches? Like there's different psychology to selling. And we saw that with Komomo Minami doing a great job putting Yuki Yamazaki over here. Ultimately, again, this was a really great match. I'm confused by the finish for two things. One, Hummingbird hits the move and then gets rolled up. And the crowd was like, oh, wait, that was it? To literally the point where I had to rewind. I'm like, did I miss something? And then Mayu nominates Hummingbird as your next challenger. So it's like not only does she lose kind of in a weird fashion, but then it's like, oh yeah, you're getting a title shot. And even though you lost in the last two shows, and the title shot's against Mayu. So I thought that was really weird. I thought you could have got a little more. I mean, it wouldn't have hurt anybody having Hummingbird get a clean win over either Komomo or Shoko, especially on the show that she's being challenged for. Ultimately, though, 3.5 stars, great way to start the show, my friend.
Maybe it's because of her kick-ass entrance theme music.
Ooh, let's go with that.
I mean, if we're going in terms of a tier list of Marigold entrance themes, there aren't many that are better than Hummingbirds. Maybe Mayu's like, no, we need to hear that in the main event of a Korakuen Hall show. Maybe that's what it is. I'll be really intrigued to see what Hummingbird and Mayu Iwatani do together as well, because Hummingbird is a more stereotypical lightning fast wrestler, and we saw what Mayu did with CoCo. So I'm really excited to see what Hummingbird does with that as well.
Not only that, but you're right, Hummingbird theme, and then we'll get the Mayu Iwatani championship theme. Hell yeah, and the match is going to happen. It'll be even better than the themes.
Absolutely. Moving on then, Strong and Sexy defeating Minami Yuki and Nagisa Takibana. Speaking of entrance themes, Chanyota's is an absolute badass theme. I don't know who it is, but it's great. Minami Yuki and Nagisa Takibana, though, work really, really well as a team. Again, I'm glad that they got the spotlight, and I'm glad this match got a little bit of time as well. Just under 10 minutes. I thought that all of these matches got the time they deserved and got the time they needed.
I still wouldn't have said no another minute or two, which again would just show you how great these matches are. Can never have too much of a good thing. I like it how Minami Yuki and Nagisa Takibana, they get the advantage with double teams. constant in and out, quick double teams. Really, I mean, it's like boom, 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 starting really hot. Then Chanyota's just like, all right, enough of this. And it's very basic. She just hits body slams. And these were big body slams, and the crowd was popping on them. And it just goes, you're putting over the strength that is Chanyota. She's not doing anything, any sort of like crazy, like Utami Hayashista to get you up in a torture rack, and then it's a deadlift, and then it's a German suplex, which is always awesome because Utami's awesome. Chanyota's like, yeah, I'm just gonna get the advantage with a body slam. Sometimes it's all you need, Rob. Sometimes it's all that you need, and then you just see some great teamwork with Chanyota and Arena. They did the one spot where Chanyota gets up, I think it was Manami Yuki in the torture rack, and then Urena comes off the top rope, almost like a shining wizard. And I was like, oh, these two as a tag team, the more reps that they're going to get in front of crowds, working with this great talent that is Marigold, they're only going to get better. Again, Manami Yuki, she's able to come back with some great strikes. She sets up Nagisa Takamana for that beautiful double jump crossbody here. Excellent stuff there. Eventually, though, we do see Chanyota. She hits this huge 360 lariat and then another lariat. Urena then takes out Manami Yuki, and that opens up the door for Chanyota to hit. Urena takes out Nagisa Takamana. That opens up the door for Chanyota to hit the jackhammer on Manami Yuki. 3.5 stars. Again, really, really great stuff. This was a great showcase for Chanyota and Arena. I know that when you asked me to do my predictions for this, I was going with an upset. I thought Manami Yuki and Nagisa have been on enough shows. I was like, this would be a real big feather in their cap. They can get a big upset win here in Korakuen Hall. But as they're about 4 minutes in, I was like, no, Chanyota and Arena should go over because I think they need to pair these up as a tag team and give them a push towards those Twin Star Tag Team Championship belts, my friend.
So moving on to Kazuna Tanaka and Megaton versus Darkness Revolution. Couple of things here. The first thing is being in a 3-person booth, we talk about it all the time, is very, very difficult. I thought that Stu, Sonny, and Tom Fane were improving all the time and did a really good job here. And I will just say that Tom Fane had my favorite call of the entire night here, because the moment the match starts, Nagisa Nozaki snatches Megaton into a side headlock, and Tom's first call was, she might tap out. She might tap out. I was like, she actually might. But no, Megaton then snatches in a side headlock of her own. Apparently is now looking to utilize the Gotch style pile driver, passed down to her, of course, by Minoru Suzuki. So maybe maybe her gimmick is going to be like Black Panther, where she will absorb a move and then suddenly becomes part of her arsenal. So maybe we're going to see her like bringing out the cattle branding next show, maybe.
What they should do is they should team up Kazuna Tanaka and Megaton, and then have Minoru Suzuki and Minoru Tanaka. Like, show them like on the YouTube channel, the 2 minute teaching them certain things to do. And like, obviously Kazuna Tanaka, because she's a savant at wrestling, she's getting everything, and Megaton's not understanding anything. And Minoru Suzuki's just like, Carl Gotch taught me this great crap that's pro wrestling. Now I'm teaching it to you, and Megaton's just not picking it up. I think it'd be great, a really great comedy sketch. I love it when, for some reason, they always do this in Korakuen Hall. Whenever there's a tag match, it's always Megaton, somebody versus a pairing of Darkness Revolution. And Darkness Revolution always cheats, bends the rules, and then double teams Megaton. It's always in Korakuen Hall, and the crowd reaction is what you should. They're just booing them. Eventually, Kazuna Tanaka gets in there, brother, and she does not hold anything back. Kazuna Tanaka is basically the definition of maximizing every second that she gets in there. There was some striking exchange with her and Nagisa. We've seen Nagisa. She's the heavy hitter, but Kazuna Tanaka was not backing down. Like, when she was giving it back to Nagisa, the crowd was really, really into it. I want to see a big 10, 12-minute match with Kazuna Tanaka and Nagisa Nozaki. We've seen Nagisa and Rea Seto with some great submission exchanges. We got a little bit of it here. Ultimately, though, it was just Nagisa and Kazuna kind of taking each other out. And then we do see Rea Seto using that diving, basically the diving knee bomb, the old Dickie Murdoch gravedigger that she calls. What does she call it, Rob?
The cattle branding.
The cattle branding. I just know it as the Dick Murdoch gravedigger. Putting away Megaton, 3.25 stars for me.
We then move on, and this is where the show really, really went into another gear, as you mentioned. It really didn't stop after this show. This was tremendous. Mai Sakurai coming back from a hand injury against and now Ishikawa, who you talked about Kazuna Tanaka maximizing every moment. Now Ishikawa in a high-ish profile match on this Korakuen Hall show, fourth from the top. It was a featured match. You know, they had their moment at the press conference at Shinjuku Face. Good God, did she take advantage of it? because this was a completely different Now Ishikawa. Like we've seen flashes of this Now Ishikawa, but this was someone who wanted to be noticed and was going to do everything she possibly could. And Mai Sakurai was absolutely loving it, by the way. She was taking what Now Ishikawa had to offer, and she was like dealing it out in spades. Those first couple of German suplexes, that brutal slap exchange, the high octane opening in general, really, really, really well done. And I could have watched this for another 3 or 4 minutes, but that's purely from a selfish standpoint. Actually, the 11 minutes 22 that it went was perfect because of the fact that these two just went at each other like two bulls. I want to see more of Now Ishikawa in singles action, because if this is the sort of thing that she is able to bring to the table, this underdog, gritty, babyface performance, you have got someone there that a crowd can really, really rally behind. Someone that, again, can be someone who you give the tap on the shoulder to and go, I need you in this position. Now Ishikawa will do that, and she will, again, if she performs like she did here, you've got someone who you could do quite a lot with. Like, Marigold have a very good problem to have, because yes, you have got the people who are currently your champions. However, you have got some people in the wings, Chika, Goto, now Ishikawa, who you look and say they could be challenging for titles. Not necessarily winning, but after this performance, if you were to tell me that now Ishikawa is going to challenge Victoria Yuzuki for the white belt, I'm down for that. I mean, I was down for that before because I love it now Ishikawa, but after this performance, after seeing what she's capable of, after hanging with someone who we were full on praising at the start of the show in Mai Sakurai, hell yes. What a performance from both women. What a performance from Now Ishikawa. What a breakout performance from Now Ishikawa in a big venue like Korakuen Hall, in a high profile match. Hell yes.
We were saying about a year ago that Now Ishikawa was getting really over in Korakuen Hall with that Nanai Takahashi stuff. And then they never pulled the trigger on it. Then she was Gigaton. Then she really doesn't do the Gigaton stuff. And then she's eating losses. And it was like, might have been a missed opportunity for Mary. They really had something special. It maybe just wasn't in the cards. It's just like, no, we already have this other stuff planned out. Not just yet. And then they give her the spotlight here, and she absolutely smashes it. And kudos to Mai Sakurai. Again, coming off that great run as the United National Champion. We now know that at the end of this show, which we'll talk about, she is the #1 contender and going for the World of Marigold Championship at the next pay-per-view at the beginning of next year. But now Ishikawa, I mean, those two German suplexes and rolls up Mai Sakurai. Right off the bat, I believe it was Sonny made a good point where now Ishikawa skipped the STF not once but twice, but even said like Mai Sakurai has been perfecting that hold over the last year and change, and not a lot of people get out of it once. The fact that now is able to get out of it twice, right there, that's a win. Like, we didn't think that now Ishikawa was going to get a win here, but there's a couple near falls that I'm like, maybe now is going to get the win. But again, even though she had the L here, she escaped Mai Sakurai's STF again, not once but twice. Which is, again, kudos to the commentary team. Great job putting that over. Really great stuff here. Now Ishikawa hits her version of the Blade Runner in a double armbar. Sakurai gets to the rope. Sakurai and now Ishikawa, they have a headbutt exchange, a slap exchange. I mean, these two weren't pulling any punches or slaps or headbutts. Pun 100% intended. Eventually, Mai Sakurai hits a pair of running boots. She hits the Shining Black. That only scores Mai Sakurai a 2 count. Mai Sakurai just has to blitz now Ishikawa at the end. She comes back with a big running boot, locks now Ishikawa in the STF. Third time was the charm. 4 1/4 stars. This was absolutely brilliant. And the crowd, they love them some Mai Sakurai. I think the Korakuen crowd was like, finally, a breakout performance from Now Ishikawa. We gave Now the ball. Let's see what she can do with an absolute home run. Considering the fact that she is in a lot of high-profile tag matches coming up this weekend, partner, I think it's time to move Now Ishikawa up the card. I totally agree with you. We get a Now Ishikawa versus Victoria Yuzuki United National Championship match. I am absolutely for that, because I think now, very much like we saw at Rea Seto this past Thursday, will hit an absolute home run. And again, kudos to Mai Sakurai. She gave Now Ishikawa like 65% of this match, where she really didn't need to. Again, hey, I'm the #1 contender coming off this show. I need to make sure I look strong. Did she look strong? She sure did. But what'd she do in the process? Making sure that the world noticed Now Ishikawa. I did not see this show live, Rob, but as soon as the show was over, my phone was blowing up, and they're like, "Wait till you see this match. Wait till you see this match." And I was like, "All right, I know those last 3 matches are gonna be really good, but the fact that there was a lot of love for Naoya Ishikawa, put on Naoya Ishikawa after this match. The point, I think she was trending for a little bit on Twitter. So again, hopefully this is the steam we get behind Naoya Ishikawa when we're seeing her in more main events. Because who wouldn't want to see Now versus Mayu? Who wouldn't want to see Now versus Miko Ano in a special singles match? Naoya Ishikawa versus Utami Hayashishita. There's a lot that they can do with her, considering the buzz coming off this match. And again, in Korakuen Hall, which is like the big venue that they run once or twice a month. Again, great stuff. Again, 4.25 stars for me, buddy.
As I mentioned, CoCo is 15. She's had 20-something matches, I believe, 23. She's had 6 singles matches before this, has lost all 6. And came into this match like she was the IWGP champion. The confidence that she came out with in this match was unreal. And then to wrestle the way that she did at 15 years old, and just to be like, there was no nerves there at all. She was doing picture perfect planches over the top rope 30 seconds into the match. She was giving to Mayu Iwatani what wrestlers who have had 60 more matches, 80 more matches than her can't do. And it was an incredibly impressive performance. Again, in 8 minutes or just under 9 minutes, Marigold fans have been introduced to someone that the Marigold management should be moving heaven and earth to sign. Because genuinely, I thought that not only because she was in the ring with Mayu, but the way that these two played off each other, the confidence, as I mentioned, that CoCo wrestled this entire match with, you should be looking to sign her without a shadow of a doubt. Because again, she'd be a wonderful addition to this roster.
Rob, I see a lot of wrestlers on the independents where they can do the flashy moves really well. They can do the 450s, the fancy splashes, the dives, but they can't put a headlock on properly, or they can't do an arm drag. Well, it's like really cool you can do that, but you can't color in the lines. You can't link up the moves with the basics. And CoCo, we've only seen a few times in these multi-person tag matches where she's hitting all the high spots. Her and Mayu have this great fast start to begin with. And I understand you're in the ring with Mayu. She can have a great match with anybody, or a broom, a goat, a whale, whatever we used to say on the Stardom cast. But CoCo keeps up with the fast-paced style. And again, it's a Superfly Championship match, so like you're kind of conditioned like this is going to be a really quick, fast-paced match. These arm drags that she delivered to Mayu, and the way she bumped and fed for Mayu's arm drags. Again, it's something so simple, but it's something that I picked up on. So I'm like, okay, CoCo has her basics down. Like, we know she's great, the 450s, the high flying, because we've seen those before, but she has her basics down. Again, it's the way that she's able to feed for the arm drags, get back up, and they kind of have an arm drag exchange. And again, I know Mayu's fantastic, but regardless, it still takes 2 to tango. When you have a spot that looks that great, it's more than one person doing it. So again, I'm like, okay, CoCo, here we go. We get the arm drag exchange. CoCo hits a big drop kick, sends Mayu out to the floor. She hits a beautiful tope con hilo, throws Mayu back in the ring. She hits a big Joshi drop kick from the second floor. And CoCo is like the first 100 seconds of this match is backing down the greatest of all time, Mayu Iwatani. Then Mayu hits a super kick and then a buzzsaw kick, and was like, okay, I know it's a Superfly Championship match, but I got to slow things down here, because this young 15-year-old she must have had a case of Red Bull, because she is fired up. And again, it's not like the moment was too big for her. And again, kudos to the commentary where they say CoCo's 15 years old. Mayu in 2 months is celebrating her 15th anniversary. Think about that. Mayu's been wrestling almost as long as CoCo's been on this earth. Mm-hmm. And she's in Korakuen Hall against Mayu, live on Wrestle Universe, English commentary, Japanese commentary. A lot of people are going to be watching this either live or post. It's easy for a 15-year-old to buckle under that pressure, where Mayu would be like, okay, kid, don't worry, I got you. I'll lead you through this match. Obviously, Mayu probably put this match together. She's Mayu. CoCo was there for everything. The spotlight wasn't too big for her. To have that confidence at 15, Rob, that's just great. And everything she executed was great. Just really great stuff. There's one spot where CoCo goes to give Mayu a German suplex, and Mayu lands on her feet. Haven't seen that from Mayu in a while. I thought that was great. Mayu hits that beautiful slingshot German suplex. And then she gets a super kick. CoCo is able to come back with a German suplex of her own. She goes for the 450. Mayu gets out of the way. CoCo rolls all the way through. And then when CoCo turns around, what is there to greet her? Mayu's foot right in her face. The super kick, buzzsaw kick opens up the door for the Snapdragon. Mayu putting CoCo away. 4 1/4 stars. It's just another great match that's in the catalog of Mayu Iwatani. But I totally agree, my friend. CoCo has put the world on notice. Again, not only for the flashy stuff that she can do, but she can do the basics, link all the basic stuff up with her big moves, which makes the big moves mean even more when you build it. The fact that the spotlight is not too big for her at 15 years old. Again, we talk about all the great rookies that we have, not just in Marigold, but in Joshi in general. Add CoCo to that ever-growing list, partner.
It takes a very special talent to get Korakuen Hall to boo Mayu Iwatani as well.
Well, yeah, because she pulled her hair out, right? And then Mayu got on her hands and knees and begged for forgiveness. Mayu, she's the best.
Watching Mayu give the hair extensions apologetically to CoCo's seconds at ringside was a really entertaining moment. But again, like, the crowd are invested. The crowd love this match, and rightly so. And yeah, again, I'd love to see CoCo do more with Marigold. You know, we were full of praise for Nightshade. Now we want to see Nightshade do more in Marigold. Do the same with CoCo. Absolutely.
Please. Or as they say in Japanese, kudasai. I've been learning.
Kudasai. There you go. Look at you. Obviously, we move to the semi-main event, the Twin Star Championship match. Darkness Revolution successfully retaining against the team of Victoria Yuzuki and Sari Yamaoka. Matt, obviously, Misa Matsui gets the visual victory over the United National Champion with that Misa Kawai driver. Only tells half the story, really. There was the chair attack. There was the double team from Chiaki, who, you know, hit Victoria Yuzuki with the chair, then put Sari Yamaoka on top of the chair, on top of Victoria Yuzuki, so that Misa Matsui can hit the double stomp. There's, you know, it wasn't a clean victory. However, Victoria Yuzuki, especially as United National Champion, is not going to be eating many pinfalls. So to have Misa Matsui and Chiaki get the win in the way they did is a great way to start their reign. What were your thoughts on this, especially as tag team wrestling? I don't know if you know this, guys, but it's sort of Matt's jam.
Brother, a lot of great tag team wrestling. Obviously, we're in the middle of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, which has been great. This match was, I'll tell you right now, is my favorite match of this show and these 3 shows that we're talking about.
Wow, okay.
And wait till you see that Sendai Girl show, because there was some great tag team. Again, just tag team wrestling, especially in Joshi this past year, just this past 7 or 8 days, has really been next level. This was great because the way that after you see the finish, and then I went back and looked at my notes, the way this match built, with Misa getting a visual pin over the United National Champion, Victoria Yuzuki, who, keep in mind, in the same building, stole the show at the 5-Star Grand Prix final. Or, excuse me, the Dreamstar Grand Prix final in the same building. Misa getting a win, but it's Chiaki is the one that sets the tone, because you have Yuzuki and Sari. They start off with the shine on Misa. And Misa's getting bounced all over the place. And then Chiaki comes in and she's the hammer that slows things down. And she starts building the heat on this area. It's like, okay, let's get this match to our style of match, that old school style. So I really, really like that. Big spotlight on Chiaki here, because again, it looked like this one could have been over quick with Victoria and Sari just really bouncing Misa around, but Chiaki slowing everything down. Thoroughly enjoy that. Sari comes back with a 619 to Chiaki and hits a springboard drop kick onto Chiaki. That opens up the door for the hot tag to Victoria Yuzuki. So Yuzuki comes back in, and then we get the proper Victoria Yuzuki stuff. Again, really great stuff here. Yuzuki hits a tornado DDT onto Chiaki after kicking off Misa Matsui. I thought that was great. Misa and Yuzuki, they are more than just fancy wrestlers, Rob. These two can hit hard. Great form exchange between the two. We see Victoria Yuzuki with a big dive onto the floor, and then Sari hits a dive on top of that. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Misa hits a draping DDT on the apron and hits that beautiful double stomp off the apron, my friend, because I cannot get enough double foot stomps in my Joshi life. And Misa Matsui is one that does the best, which is saying a lot, because you have Azumi and Suri. By the way, if you like Suri and double stomps, you will like the match with Chiro Hashimoto, because there's like 80 of them, and they all made sense. They were great. Oh my God, I can't wait for you to watch that match. Sari comes in. We get back and forth stuff with her. She hits a deadlift German suplex onto Chiaki, so I thoroughly enjoy that. We're showing Sari's power is on display here. Yuzuki hits that pump handle spinning slam. She tries for the victory, or she hits the victory shooting. That darn Chiaki pulls the referee, Rob. That darn Chiaki pulls the referee. And what does the crowd do? Boo, in a good way. That's what you want. We get the chair, and I know the hands were up. I still don't like chair shots to the head. I don't. Knowing what we know about concussions, I don't like them. Yuzuki is able then Victoria Yuzuki hits a claw slam onto Victoria Yuzuki. And you mentioned that great spot where they're on the top rope, and it's like this giant sandwich where it's like you have the chair, you have Victoria Yuzuki, you have Sarah Yamaoka. I'm like, where's this gonna go? Because we've seen these spots before, but we've never really seen like it stacked. And then Misa coming down with the big double stomp, which just adds to like the violence on that move. That opens up the door for the Misa Kawaii driver. Beautifully done, pinning Victoria Yuzuki in the middle of the ring. 4.5 stars, Rob. Again, my favorite match of the show, my favorite match of these 3 fantastic shows we talked about. Great back and forth, the heat, the psychology, the cheating, but not in front of the referee. They're pulling the ref out, the crowd reactions. You had crowd psychology, and it made you want to see. Like when this match was over, I was like, man, I want to see, as great as Sari was, as great as Chiaki was, as great as the teamwork was, man, I want to see Misa Matsui versus Victoria Yuzuki. Not only was I thinking about that, clearly the Hat Man was thinking that's probably where we're going to go, and that's what they gave us. So it's like you're in your head like, man, that match was great. What would Misa Victoria Yuzuki look like in a singles match? And boom, they set the table right there. More than likely with Yuzuki getting her revenge on Misa Matsui, probably going to retain the championship. But I'm super excited for that match. Again, this is great. 4.5 stars. Chiaki and Misa Matsui are clearly putting their flag in the claim as one of the best tag teams in all of Joshi. And that is making a statement considering you have FWC, you have Soripor, you have Hina and Ronda Yugami. For some reason, they might be the best tag team in the Goddess tournament. You have Team 200 KG, you have Red Energy. You have so many great tag teams in Joshi. And you've got to give Misa and Chiaki a lot of credit because they are creeping up the ladder, my friend, which is a good thing considering all the great competition that they have.
Yeah, this was I got this and the Mai Sakurai and Naoya Ishikawa match at the same rating. I think I just preferred the Mai Sakurai Naoya Ishikawa match, but again, it was 1A and 1B without a shadow of a doubt. It's worth pointing out as well, Victoria Yuzuki and Misa Matsui had a singles match for the Superfly title in July. I'm really excited to see what the differences are in a United National Championship match between the two and a Superfly Championship match between the two, because there are completely different titles with completely different sorts of styles. So very intrigued to see that match December 6th in Sapporo. Finally, main event, Miko Ueno versus Chika Goto. Not a title match, despite Chika Goto's pleading. The match started, Chika Goto decided, well, do you know what? I'm going to take it to the champion then. And that ended poorly. Ended very, very poorly for Chika Goto. She received one of the stiffest kicks I've seen, just to the side of the head. Absolutely no time to get the hand up, anything, straight to the side of the head. So, yeah, that was a great explosive start. And then obviously the back and forth was really, really good. And obviously the story that we are telling is building Chika Goto up until eventually she does win the big one. But to get to that, you're going to have to knock her down. And I do appreciate what Miko Ueno's saying. Yeah, okay, Chika Goto, you've done some good stuff. Okay. You have had a couple of good performances. That's not the threshold to challenge for the top championship in this company. Okay. Look at how long it took me to challenge. It took me winning a tournament and then beating Utami at the biggest show that Marigold have ever done to become Red Belt champion. That was the first time I ever challenged for this title. Okay, if I just start letting people challenge because they fancy it, what does that do to the prestige? Which I love. It's more about that tough love that she's showing to Chika Goto, and that's really important.
I wouldn't have even brought up that Chica wants a title shot because she even asked Korakuen Hall, "Do you want to see a title shot?" Well, it's the main event. Of course, everybody's like, "Yeah, we want to see it." And then Miko on, I don't care even if it was Mayu, like I'm not going to give you a title shot. They're going to boo whoever said that. And I'll say this, Rob. Say me and Amber were in Japan. We get done with a show, and you and Amber are like, "Let's go out for ice cream. Let's go, Matt. Can we go out for ice cream?" And I'm the one that's got the wallet, right? And I'm like, "No, we're not going to go for ice cream." Who's the jerk? It's not you. It's not Amber. It's me,
Why
right?
would
I'm
you
the
say
one
no
that
to that? Why would you say
exactly. I
no
would.
to that?
Why would I say no that I don't want to see a championship match in Korakuen Hall? Exactly. See, you get it. See how I broke that down to real world situation? Exactly. I wouldn't even brought it up. I would have said Miko. If I was Miko, I would grab the microphone and be like, "Hey, 15-minute time limit. If you either go the 15 minutes or you beat me, I'm gonna give you a title shot." And this one almost went the time limit. So you could have been like, "Oh, she was so close." I wouldn't even brought it up because then you get the crowd excited for it, and then you take it away. Very much like, "Hey, can we go for ice cream?" Yeah, that sounds great. Nah, not yet. I don't think that you earned ice cream, Rob. You're like, oh man.
I'm not a fan of this.
I
Like, I
know
just want ice cream now.
exactly. I will buy you ice cream in Japan, I promise. But I'm just saying,
Thank you.
you understand that this is what happened. Anywho, this match was great. What a great showing for Chika Goto. Chika Goto, now Ishikawa, even eating L's. They're the ones everybody was talking about at the end of the show, which is saying something. Consider how great the whole show was, especially these last 4 matches. But you made mention how Chika Goto went at Miko Ano, didn't end well for her, not in the beginning. Then the match goes to the floor. Chika Goto hits Miko Ano with these slaps. That
She
was like,
does.
it's a receipt. What do I always say, Rob? When I'm wrestling, and obviously I don't wrestle that much, I want to get hit first because then I need to know how hard I can hit you back. And I want you to hit me hard because I'm going to hit you hard in a safe place back. And Miko Ano hit those kicks. I was like, oh man, I hope Chika Goto gets the receipt, and did it in the outside. And the crowd popped for her. She wasn't done. Then she sends Miko Ano into the first, second, third, and fourth row. Like, I mean, she sent her flying. And then she's just like, well, I cleared out all this space in the chairs. We have all this space we didn't have 30 seconds ago. I'm going to do the giant swing right here. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense. That's why you move the furniture. You know, if you're going to break dance, you got to move the couches. I don't know why that came from. But eventually we get back in the ring. We get a lariat off between the two. We get a forearm off between the two. Miko Ano's doing her best Kachihori Shibata impersonation, just those stiff kicks, that drop kick in the corner. Chika Goto is firing up. She's selling, but then firing up, and the crowd is so behind her because they wanted to see this as a championship match. They want to see Chika Goto finally get that big win. She comes closer and closer and closer. She hits, and I made mention before, she hits a different variation of the choke slam where it's almost like a hammerlock choke slam. Like, I am all for that. She needs to do that every match and win every match with that. Like, establish that as her big finish. So, you know, it's okay if you'd have 2 or 3 finishes, but like at least establish one. She needs to establish that because the crowd bid on it, and the commentary did a great job putting it over. Thoroughly enjoy that. We do see that Miko Ano comes back with a Rainmaker, hits a huge buzzsaw kick. She tries for the Styles Clash, but didn't seem like their timing was right. And Chika Goto properly got dropped on her head, very much like Misawa and those matches with Kawada 94. It was like, ooh, that looked a little scary. Ultimately, Chika Goto was okay. Then Miko Ano locks it in the Texas Cloverleaf, which I like when she does that because she has established that finisher over the year plus we've been seeing her wrestle. For the tap out, 4.25 stars, probably my second favorite match from the show. It's either this or the Now versus Mai Sakurai. Then you put the Mayu match up there as well. Again, this is a really great show that really capped off 4 must-see, can't-miss matches with Now versus Mai Sakurai, with CoCo versus Mayu, the championship match, which again was my favorite, and then this one as well. Really, really great way to end a phenomenal show, buddy.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is one of my favorite Korakuen Hall events of the year. And fingers crossed that they bring in more on December 27th. I do wonder if a lot of the tourism to do with Wrestle Kingdom will impact that. It'll be intriguing to see how big that inflates the numbers and things like that. I'm really intrigued as well to see whether Marigold just use that, with that being 6 or 7 days or whatever it is before first stream. I do wonder if they will just use that as a preview for first stream. So have Miko Ano and, I don't know, against Mai Sakurai and someone else as a preview tag. Maybe have Miko Ano and Victoria Yuzuki against Chika Goto and Mai Sakurai, and then use it as 2 separate preview tags as opposed to doing a big title match. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see what happens there, but a really, really, really good show. And again, ordinarily, I will say, just cherry pick the matches if you don't have time. But genuinely on this show, you could watch it from start to finish. It's a really good show. If you are pressed for time, match all the way from Mai Sakurai and now Ishikawa onwards. Compulsory viewing for Marigold fans. Really, really, really good stuff. Obviously, just a quick reminder that Marigold will be running shows on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of November as we begin the True Victory Tour, which will be the last tour before Christmas. Matt, obviously, it's been a long one, one of the longest Marigold standards we've recorded in a while. But where would we be if we didn't have time to cram in a glimpse of Julia? Because again, 18 seconds or whatever the championship match lasted, where she lost it to Chelsea Green, and not on TV for God knows how long. Loses the belt in 18 seconds. What is next for the Dangerous Queen?
I would say this, but she did cut a very passionate and fired up promo. A lot of it in Japanese, a little bit of it in English, and the way that it was shot with like the music in the background, and tells me to believe that we're going to be getting a more violent Julia. I know that right after day or two after she dropped the her championship, United States Championship to Chelsea Green, she debuted kind of a new look, a kind of a cross between her NXT look and her Stardom look, like with the mask and the robe. Looked really, really cool. So maybe, Rob, maybe we're going to back off a little bit of the beautiful madness. Maybe we will see the return of the Dangerous Queen. It does look like she's maybe getting a little bit more violent. Again, I'm hoping on to hope because Julia's fantastic, and I just wish these gazes at Julia were a little bit longer because I love Julia. The more Julia on my TV, I would love to see, but when she's in backstage promos or having 90-second matches, it's just really kind of deters me a little. But again, really, really great promo backstage. It seemed like it was really well produced. So it does seem like if they're going to put out all that much time, effort, and energy into a backstage promo, maybe they're going to be doing something really, really big with Julia coming up in the next few weeks on SmackDown, which I believe they did mention they're going to extend to 3 hours. So maybe more time for Julia on said show.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we do bring to an end this episode of the Marigold Standard. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. If you think we've deserved it, leave us a comment and a 5-star review. Really does help the podcast out and really does help out in helping us be exposed to more people as well. Patreon.com/the Stardomcast for all of your Joes. You need some extra content, loads and loads of extra bonus content, as well as all of our show reviews, our show previews, and all of that good stuff as well. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, unless, of course, it is Threads, Blue Sky, or Instagram, where we are at Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, where can they find you, good sir? And then sign us off.
Absolutely, folks. Questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and bestest way to get a hold of me. Or you can shoot me an email. The email address simply is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fantastic episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.